What's up, guys, and welcome back to this week's episode of Two of Our Own. Just a quick side note, this isn't relevant for the people on Spotify, but for those on YouTube, welcome to all the new subs we've got. We've gained 9 new subscribers in less than a week, which has been absolutely fucking bonkers. I think that's got large amounts to do with the fact that I've started uploading gaming content again. That past and present Spurs FIFA video was absolutely insane. So thank you guys so much for the love and support on that. It was really good. And I've had a lot of positive feedback on the first Football Manager episode as well, which is really good fun. Obviously, I can say it now because it's been released, but going to Portsmouth using Kranjcar, Defoe and Crouch's Portsmouth goals, and then a fake FaceTime call from Harry Redknapp going, do you want to come to Portsmouth? I'll have to send Harry that because I don't know if he's seen it or not. He might have seen it on...
No, I had to see it, actually. Because
you have seen it?
I watched it, yeah. I liked it. I was the first one to like the video, I think.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, it was really, really good fun making that edit. So episode 1's gone out. It went out on Sunday. Episode 2 will probably go out on Wednesday. Podcast on Friday. Another one on Sunday. Another one on Tuesday. And I'm just going to kind of rotate it like that. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting back into playing Football Manager again and signing players and getting pissed off and crying.
Okay.
On the topic of people that like a good old cry, Harry is back, as always. Yeah. I don't know why I've ever introduced him anymore. He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. It's Harry. Didn't just steal that from Ted Lasso, by the way. Yeah. No copyright intended. Actually, funny, guys, this is completely off topic before we even start this episode, but I actually rewatched Ted Lasso. Finished rewatching it like 2 days ago for the second time, and I must admit the amount of like the themes with like the homophobia and the racism and things, the way they went about it and the way they raised prominence to the issues, but actually like came across really, really well. So yeah, I really enjoyed rewatching that. Anyway, on the topic of watching things, I watched a lot of clips on Sunday of the Tottenham protest, and that's going to be the large topic of conversation for tonight's episode. We're going to talk about the protest and then just preview the Ipswich game. Neither of us can be bothered to talk about the United game, to be honest. We won. We're both shit. That's what there is to it. Shout out to Ben Davies, who played an absolute rocker of a performance in. Shout out to Vicario, had a great game back. And shout out to Spence, who's unfucking believable. Other than that, I'm not going to make any comments about any other players because it was just...
I don't know about Vicario, but anyway.
There are a couple of times where he kept us in the game. Anyway, let's talk about the protest. So, first and foremost, we spoke a few weeks ago, and I literally turned around and said that I felt like it was at the Leicester game, and we turned around and spoke about the volume of the chanting, the amount of chanting, the hostility of it, and said it is the most hostile game we've had since Nuno subbed off Lucas Moura, and then probably 10 years before that for a game is equally hostile. And the atmosphere outside, obviously you were there, and you're going to talk a bit about it in a minute, but from watching it, from seeing the videos and whatever, it was loud, it was done in the right way, and it was the most united I've ever seen our fan base. And genuinely, I put part of my choice of words. For me,
don't worry, everyone's up on this week. Don't worry.
Well, I didn't know that. So, for me personally, there's not very things that can make you proud to be a Tottenham fan in the last sort of 10, 15 years, but that was one of them. The fact that we've got people that would never speak out about the club. You've got people that would never take part in protests. You've got people that our voice can't change it, who have now gone, you know what, fuck it, even if our voice can't change it, trying is better than not doing anything at all. And I really felt proud, and I sent my little brother those clips, and apparently he was running around the living room saying, we won't leave you out, but I'm gutted I wasn't there, and if I'd have realised before I made the rota at work that was a protest weekend, I'd have given myself that Sunday off and worked this Sunday, and I'd have gone even just for the protest. But yeah, it looked fantastic. It was loud. It hit media everywhere, Sky, news reporters. It was being plastered everywhere. It was on BBC News at one point.
Story, but I'm going to let you finish first.
Like the ground it reached and the ground it covers. And I truly believe he has nowhere to hide now. And whether he sacks Ange, keeps Ange, whatever it might be, not once was any of these protests Ange out. Not once were any of these protests sack the manager, the squad's not good enough. It was all about Levy, and it was all about his gross incompetence for the last 24, 25 years, however long it's been. And that, for me, the fact that even after the game, stuff was still being shared, stuff was still being posted. You know, even Alistair Gold was tweeting the videos of it. You know, and even though he's not in the club's payroll per se, like people have accused him of being. I
think he's getting a bit fed up, you know.
He still portrays the club in a way that's respectful and balanced, or has done up until this point. That's the first time I've ever seen him really jump in and make it clear that.
I think he's a real Spurs fan, right? I think even his patience is very thin.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and
I've seen him like gradually in his videos. I don't watch all the videos.
I watch one every couple of months.
What I'd normally do is I'll put it on and then I'll just flick through it and see what kind of like body language is like and see what the important points are, say, for 5 minutes. Not because I have anything against. I'm nothing against Alistair Gold. He's actually follows me on Twitter, and I've never had to go in an argument with him. Like, you know, there's people trying to send him stuff, and I've never called him out or anything because I have nothing against him. He's just doing his job. Yeah, like, I have nothing against him. But you know, like I've just watched him slowly, kind of.
Gil. It's the first time I've ever seen him share anti-club stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's not going to please them.
The other thing, and I hope that Jay, I went into message Jay, we need to get him on at some point, but I hope one thing that we do going forwards is when there's a non-footballing event, we do the exact same thing.
I mean, I was thinking the same thing, man. Beyonce's booked for 4 days.
My mate's going to one of those Beyonce concerts. It would be fucking hilarious if I get the train down to London with him in full kit wankered Spurs gear with a LEVY out banner. Ironically, actually,
banner on those events, man. Like
ironically, for those guys that don't know, I'm back on the online dating apps now. Don't ask. It was a long, wounded bullshit that happened at work over the weekend. But anyway, there was someone who popped up on my thing, quite a cute girl, and one of the prompts was "Don't hate me if I support Tottenham." So I replied to that and said, "The real question is, are you Levy in or Levy out, or Angel or Ange out?" So, you know what? So I was saying, got like Tottenham Riz. I haven't had a reply. I probably won't get one, but you know. But yeah, do you know what? It's the first time in a long time, and the Leicester game really felt like it. We said it even coming out of the game, even when we were 1-0 up, it still felt so hostile. We both sat there and said on that episode that we recorded on that Monday, it feels like this is just going to be the beginning of this now.
I predicted with the Leicester game we would lose. So for me, when we lost, I wasn't surprised. The banner obviously was a surprise because no one knew about it.
No one knew, no.
And they did it on purpose. I think for me, I think they were doing that just to test the waters. I think in hindsight,
and there were enough people there supporting it. And like I say, my little brother is 10 and was joining in with the Levy out chance in that game. You know what I mean? Like the whole corner of the South Stand and where we were sat.
It was strategic. I'm trying to say. Like they were doing it, I think, to test the waters first to see what the reaction was in the ground. In the game, right? Especially to someone like Leicester, like, come on, no disrespect, they did win the league and the FA Cup, but like, as in where they are and compared to where we are, we're supposed to be. Especially if you compare the revenue. Anyway, but like for me, I did think they did that to test the waters first, and then from then on, they thought, "Oh, we did well with that."
Yeah, I didn't expect this to take off the way it did. Like,
I'll describe to you because I was there, so I can tell you.
Yeah, right, Harry, you've got the floor. Go round sharp now.
So obviously, I met up with TJ, who's now called Into Spurs. I've been screening with him for like 2 years. We finally met up in person, and Elijah Too Much of he, who's a really funny guy, but he lost the voice, so he wasn't really chanting as much as everyone else. But that's not the point. So we all met up in the corner of Lordship Lane. We were very early actually because we went Shit King at 1. Because I'll go to guys, no, we need to go Shit King now at 1 o'clock to eat because by the time we get back,
otherwise you're not going to get in. Yeah,
get in, and they thanked me afterwards. But this is relevant. But anyway, so we went back and we waited there. We got there at like 2ish, and there was already people there at like 10 past 2, 2:15. So there was about 10 people. Anyway, before you knew it, within like an hour, like it was. And bear in mind, I can attest this because I've been to protests when there's been like 30 people, and then 60 people, and then like 100 people. And you feel like when you're there, you feel like, well, not what am I doing there? Because I'm always going to go there anyway. And the people vouch for me that I've been to like protests with like no one. But like, as in this felt like, I was like, what the hell? And I started seeing people that I'd never thought I'd ever see. Like I told you about Last Word on Spurs. Big up to Ricky. I blessed out with him in person because as people might know, me and him back in the day used to have like spats on Twitter. So we saw, even though he did send me a apology before, anyway, but I spoke to him in person and it was fine anyway. But like, a lot of people who I don't even like were there. But the problem, and this is why I said this on Tottenham Way in the video. The point was to put our egos aside, no matter what we think about players,
and all come together for the greater good. For the greater good.
Unite. Yeah. To get rid of the one person who's the real problem at the club, right? The source of the issues, right? Let's be honest. But for what I'm saying is, by the time me and TJ looked around, right, within like an hour, mate, it was fucking crazy. And then I knew it was serious because of the 4 horses. You know, when there's big like numbers of people, taking the horses out, and I saw 4 horses from like where I was standing come round like that. Obviously, and by the way, I don't know if you don't know, but Jay told the police in advance. Obviously, this was going to happen.
Yes, I read something like that.
The organisation was like really good, and props to Jay. I don't know him that well. I've been in a few cars with him back in the day, but I met Billy T. He was great, but like what they did was incredible. And the point is like all these people who you never thought they would be together, were actually together. It was honestly, mate, it was mental. And then TJ started, especially TJ, like he's fucking loud, man. He would start chanting, and then obviously the LEVY out, and they all started chanting Ryan Isaacs. You know Ryan Isaacs, but I've met him loads of times. He's one of the loudest people, like leading it. Matty K, that kid, I don't know if you know about him. I probably met him like very briefly, but it was so mental, mate. Like I've never seen so many people in one place, like ever, at a protest. But like I said, I've been to one's proof, but this was crazy. And then we started walking down the high road. We're still screaming "Leave it out!" Like man, crazy. It was mental. There's something I've like wished for about 10 years. To be honest. It was, and then I was like, and then we're walking around and you see people on the side taking photographs and videos. And then I remember telling people, watch, people will join now because there's like a ton of us, and all these people joined from the side. And anyway, the best part. I'll leave you the best part. So we'll go and we get there. You know, they said we were going to stand outside of West Ham for like 10 minutes, wherever it was.
Yeah.
Do you hear about the Donna Cullen?
I heard that she supposedly walked past it and everyone was being really toxic to her, making her really uncomfortable.
It's true. Because I wasn't right there because I was kind of like near the front, but not totally in the front. Because like I said, we kind of led and then I think people just joined at the end. But by then I look back and I'm like... I could barely see who was at the back. It was that many people.
Yeah.
And I think you underestimate it when you're in there. Like, and then I saw the videos.
Yeah, when you see the Sky View photos of Sky had, mate, the following people's a joke.
And I was like one of them. I was like, fuck, I didn't realise how many people there were. Because obviously I stuck with my lot, and especially Elijah, because he didn't know Tottenham that well. And we were like, we don't want to lose him. Because TJ been there bare times, man. Like, he lives literally around the corner from the ground, TJ.
Yeah.
But, so that was that manic, like it was crazy, and I was running to people I knew, were like, "Leave me out!" And then anyway, so at the same time, we live streamed some of it onto Eugene's.
Yeah, I saw some of it.
Yeah, we live streamed onto the Eugene's for a bit, which is really cool. So at least the international fans got involved. I'm sure you saw that whole international fans thing, which Brian Daigle led. Sorry.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a long story. I know Brian Daigle quite well, but what I'm saying is the first time like I ever felt like we're not a minority, Like I know it was people say 2,000, 3,000 is not like 60,000 in the ground, right? But you need to take into consideration obviously you have to knock off 5,000 for the away fans or whatever it is.
Yeah, then you have to knock off them out for kids, and you have to knock off them out for like families going that are going to get involved in stuff like that for safety reasons.
But, I mean, and I go back to this, like we have to, whether we like it or not. And I was telling TJ this beforehand and afterwards. Us younger fans, because like people like my dad are like 80 something and he doesn't really have an opinion on it, for example, we have to lead this ourselves, right? We don't, and people will follow, right? Now that you've got the bigger channels, like Last One has been there, that was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was like, and then like it means that this is fucking serious, and like to be there was mental. And like I said, I saw the video as well afterwards of all of them coming down.
Mate. I was so proud seeing that. Like,
I could not believe it when I saw, because obviously I was in there, but I couldn't see how many people there were.
Yeah.
And then people joined up. And anyway, Donald Klein did come. I can confirm, because basically where I was standing, there was a few people ahead of me, and I could hear them shouting something. And I suddenly see some woman running across, and someone goes, Donald Klein, and something like this. And I was like, mate, she shat herself. but I was like,
but this is what we said though after the Leicester game, and whatever, and when we were criticising obviously the club for drowning out the booze with
that many people, because I'd been to, like I said, protests before where it was like 100.
Like don't get me wrong, I'd seen enough on Twitter to expect it to be the biggest process we'd had to date, but I didn't think it would be like that.
But like I said to people before we started the march, because I was like, when are we going? Because it was 1:45. Because we were just standing there chanting in like a circle. And then I was joking to one of the guys, oh, do we need like an air traffic control to start? I don't know who was starting it. And then eventually something must have...
Yeah, they came across with the yellow banners at the front. I fucking loved that.
They must have had it planned. Like I couldn't see where I was standing. We were like kind of like in the front, but kind of like in the middle-ish before everyone joined at the end, sort of thing. Like it was crazy, man. But then like when I saw the videos afterwards, I realized how big it was, like in reality, because I thought there's only a few hundred of us. Then I saw a video. I was like, because when you're in there, like I said, you don't realize.
Yeah, you can't see
it. Fucking hell! Like that was a shit. Like,
the thing that blows my not blows my mind, but the thing
what I'm saying is Levy for me, he would have seen that 100%. He would have heard it 100%. The fact that Donna Cullen was there as well and saw it.
I think the thing for me is after the Leicester game, they tried to drown out the boos with the speaker, and they physically couldn't. And we came on here and we said after that game, we said it to each other. We said there's nowhere for them to hide anymore, and that it just needs to keep getting louder and louder and more people. To go from that, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, whatever it was what we have now,
it's insane.
Is insane. And if we keep going at that growth, the next one will be 5,000. Then it's going to be 10,000. I think
half the ground will be there by the time you know it. Especially, especially if we keep losing games.
I honestly think we are going to get to the point where his position is going to become so untenable.
It'll be toxic for him.
He's not going to be able to step anywhere near the ground at all. And
we were talking. I don't know if I should not say it. People was just anyway. This is just small talk. It's not like anything concrete. Yeah. Saying maybe we should have gone earlier because maybe Levy would be around earlier to go in the stadium. No one really knows what time he's going to go in. Yeah. I mean, no one really knows, where he goes in. I think it's the same entrance as Donald, to be honest. A little bit. But like
he will see, and this is the thing.
I agree with the whole non-footballing events thing. I'm down for that.
100%. I think that has to be not the next step now, because I think we need protest. For my opinion, I would have it every single home game between now and the end of the season. Apart from the Europa League games, because the evenings it's not safe to do that in London. But I would say every single weekend home game, I would be having protests to that extent. And
bear in mind this,
I would add in the non-football event stuff as well. And I think by the time, I think it's going to take 12 months of that for every single home game.
For something to change.
And I think if it gets to that point, Joe Lewis is going to go, you've got 2 months to find me a buyer. I don't want anything to do with this anymore.
But this is what I've been saying. I've been saying this on loads of channels, right? We need to make it toxic for him. I hate to say this way, but like that's the only way. And obviously Ed Woodward stepped away from United. I mean, that's other stuff. But.
And Ed Woodward wasn't. The thing with Ed Woodward was with United will run so poorly because they didn't put the infrastructure in place. Tottenham will run so poorly because we put the infrastructure in place, but we won't spend the capital to optimise the use of the infrastructure.
I mean, we have all these revenue streams like Beyonce. That's the thing, like hitting.
My mate bought those Beyonce tickets. He was mortified with how much he spent.
Does he have a Levy out banner at least?
He doesn't, but I might get him to take one with him when he goes. He's been going with his sister. She's American, to be fair, so we'll see what happens. But
I know someone at work, she's going to the Beyonce concert. I don't think she'll bring out a banner, though. I don't know if she's that kind of person. Imagine, please, can you use a banner for me? And she'll be like, what am I doing this for? I don't want to get kicked out from Beyonce. But
it's only a matter of time now before the banners start going in for social events.
The biggest thing for me was, because a lot of people who, like I said, I never thought would be there, maybe because this protest was so well organised, right? And this is why Jay and Billy or whoever else, Lyndon, someone was telling me, some guy, I don't know him, I don't think I met him.
I don't know who you're about.
Anyway, it was manic, literally it was manic. But because it was so well organised, where, they contacted police, it was peaceful, like we're still saying what we're saying, but there wasn't any chance about and there's no idiots really.
No. Apart from, right, now you've reminded me, apart from the one twat with a Levy banner, right, there was a tweet put in the group chat, actually. I'm in the group, my phone's on 10%, so maybe it doesn't die. I was in a... So first of all, this was a photo taken from the Skywalk. Can't fully see it, but look.
Yeah, it was fucking
The
crazy.
volume of people was crazy. So the guy goes, I was the guy holding the levy inside at the protest. I wasn't worried for my safety. There was no more than 30 people at the protest. The rest were just trying to get to the game. Now, you and I both know that that's bullshit. And I found it funny. There's a video of him holding it up.
Yeah,
and someone comes along and nicks it and runs. And then they get into a bit of a scrap.
I think that guy, because we saw someone get arrested, I think it might have even been him.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think the thing that
he took him away for his own safety.
Yeah, I think the thing that frustrates me the most with a twat like that is the fact that, and we've done it right. We have praised Levy for the business infrastructure he has created. But the fact of the matter is, we are a football club before we are a business. We were a football club before, and we will be a football club after until the day it ceases to exist.
Until he goes, even when he goes, we'll still exist as a football club, really.
Exactly, and this is my point, right? We as Tottenham fans can credit Daniel Levy for the business side and the long-term stability he has brought to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And no Spurs fans can deny. We've said it back and forth. I'm not going to go into detail again. We've said it before. Tottenham fans say it all the time. You cannot knock him for that. But that cannot be the first and foremost priority. It just can't. The first and foremost priority has to be, how can we use this infrastructure we've created to create the ultimate football team? Not club, but team.
Right. What I'm saying with Levy, yeah, like, because from what I've heard, and I think you've heard, Lewis actually would consider selling.
Lewis wants to go. Lewis doesn't want to be a part of it anymore.
There was a bid from, sometime it's a £3.6 billion bid, for the club that they turned down, because the issue is more actually Levy than anyone else, because Levy is the one who wants to keep it on.
But this is my point, though. This is my point, though.
Lewis would happily sell. I actually think he would happily sell.
Yeah. This is my point, though, right? I think, and I said this, I actually tweeted this the other day. I'm not going to go back and find it. Mm-hmm. I tweeted this the other day. I said, you watch, and I said this weeks ago, and Harry will vouch for me. The podcast is there. I don't know what episode it is. You can go and find it. I think if Lewis comes to him and goes, you've got like 2 months and I'm out no matter what, you either sell or I'm selling to the highest bidder, and who gives a fuck? I'm telling you now, Levy is going to put together a consortium of people, and he's going to buy the football club, and it's going to get 10 times worse.
Even worse.
Before it gets better, yeah.
This is why I think attacking Levy is the
has to be the priority, because ultimately, Joe Lewis doesn't really give a shit how much money he spent or how much money he uses. His capital invested into Tottenham was decades ago. It's been and gone. Like the money he's
been to like 2 games in like the past.
Yeah, the money he spent like investing in buying a football club through ENIC, like that's that money spent, right? He owns those shares. He owns that part of the football club. The football club is self-sustainable in such a way economically. Lewis doesn't have to put any money in. So Lewis has no problem with what's being done in that front, because it's not his money. It's not coming out of his pocket.
It's not his anymore.
Lewis. It doesn't matter if Daniel Levy spends 500 million or 500 billion, because it's not coming out of Lewis's pocket. It's coming out of the money that the club generates in profit through being what Levy has created. Fair enough, no problem. Levy's problem is Levy is trying to spend as minimal amount of that profit as possible. No, that's where the problem comes in.
Levy has repeatedly said that the club doesn't, and this I thought you bring players like this up, but I have to. Gray, Bergvall, Tell, Kinski, all these young players, and don't get me wrong, there's nothing against them personally, this is not attacking them. But this transfer policy that also Conte warned us about when we signed Leski, it's the same transfer policy we've had to 2005. And he said this repeatedly, we don't buy stars at Spurs, we make them. And yes, it's all well and good doing that on like a...
You can do that, but then when you get to a team that's capable of winning something, then you have to go and buy stars to finish it, like we should have done for Pochettino.
No. What I'm saying is, we do our transfer work backwards, right? We buy too many young players and then 1 or 2 senior players. So we bought 7 players, 2, maybe 1 or 2 oven ready. The other 5 are like, oh, he's got great potential. And then some fans are like, oh, we had a great window because this guy's got potential and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I've heard this since 05, yeah? And bear in mind, in 05, it was different because I could buy the transfer policy because we had such an old team that you had to go the young route. Like, there was no choice.
And not just that, we weren't attractive or we weren't established. We were established, but we weren't prominent in comparison to other teams.
Europe in 05. Until Martin Jol took over in 06. No, he didn't take over in 06, but when he took over 06, 07, we weren't in Europe. So once we got into Europe, obviously the new narrative was make the Champions League. Okay, we made the Champions League, but we didn't push on after that. We all know about the derisory bids of Rossi and Aguero and Agredo in that January when we made the Champions League, which are half the amount that the players were worth. And Redknapp clearly wanted a top striker. Like he was saying that for 2-3 years, even though he had Defoe and whatever. What I'm saying is, a lot of Redknapp's team, for example, were a coming of age team. Joel kind of had the foundations of it, and he did with the players he had. Yeah, Martin Joel did bloody brilliant to get us in fifth. Right, he had free transfers, some young players, and he would just give young players debuts because he didn't have a choice. In some ways, he didn't have a choice because we just had. He just didn't have a choice. But like what I'm saying, back then you could buy it because the club was not in a position where they could attract the top players.
Yeah.
And we weren't also, at that time, we were sold that dream of make the Champions League because that is the Holy Grail because we can attract.
When actually all making Champions League did was give them the platform to make the long-term business changes they've made, which is then allowed to an exponential amount of money, which is then not being reinvested. And this is
and the stadium was another lie. I hate to say it. It was another lie.
The intention behind the reason for doing the stadium was a lie. They made it clear the intent was to make the club more self-sustainable to protect its long-term future, which is correct. They've done that. The whole point of the stadium was to increase the revenue earned outside of current sponsorships and whatever, so that could be reinvested into the team, so the team had higher potential. Now that's been a lie. All they've done is reinvest that money into their own pockets.
I don't know where it's gone. This is what I don't get. I don't know where it's gone. But what I'm trying to say is that transfer policy, and this is why I go back to the transfer window that we had, where Solanke was the only senior of a ready player.
Yeah.
Werner was, I don't even fucking know what was. But again, he was like an old player that they got on a loan because he was just cheaper to buy as a loan, I guess. And then the rest were just young players. And this is a problem. Why are doing the other way around, where you buy 3 or 4 top senior players that you know straight into the team, and then you buy one young player and say, look, this guy will learn off of like one of the other signings, for example.
See, I understand Gray and seeing his versatility this season, and I still think he'll become a really, really good player for us. So him I can understand.
This is the problem with this club, right? By the time if we needed, we could spend like 40 million on a number 6, right? And a top, like a ready number 6, like I don't know, from Atalanta Edison or something. But this is what I'm trying to say is the transfer policy is the problem. And this is down to Levy because Levy has repeatedly said we don't buy stars at Spurs, we make them. And he does this with literally every single player. You get the odd oven ready player like Solanke where, you know what it is I think he does? I think he gives the managers like a little carrot. Yeah, he goes, look,
enough to make them believe that they're going to get first team players, but not enough to actually give them a full team of first team players.
He kind of gaslights the manager because at the beginning, because you know Ndombele, that window, right? I hate that window, but that Ndombele was say a player that Poch wanted, so he got Ndombele, and then Lo Celso came later on, and then obviously Sessegnon, I would classify as a young player really at that point still, was like the third signing. So in reality, that window was kind of the same, really. I mean. Like what I'm trying to say is, rather than going out like Conte used to say, we need to sign 2 or 3 top players every window, oven ready players, and maybe like one youngster, I guess, on top of that. This is how.
What makes me so angry is
this is why
you don't even need what people fail to realise is you don't need to go and sign. You don't need to go and sign 4 or 5 first team players per transfer window. If you look at that squad that we finished second with, right? That squad needed competition for Harry Kane. It needed a pacey winger rotation. It needed a Dembele long-term replacement, and it needed another centre-back, right? That's 4 players. Now, you go and bring in that at that period, in 2018, 2019, or 2017, 2018, 2018, 2019, you go and bring in an 18-year-old Dembele replacement. Within 18 months by the time Dembele goes, that player's 22, 23, 24. They're able to push on into the first team.
18 months.
No, but I'm saying it depends on the exact age you buy the player.
That's my problem because you're saying an 18.
No, what I'm saying to you is there was a certain period in time in which if we'd have bought the right young talent, it would have given us the depth and the quality we needed that we could have rotated.
I don't think young talent was the answer in that squad. Sorry, I'm not.
No, but like for example, if we'd have bought Jack Grealish, Jack Grealish was a young talent. Jack Grealish was a young talent at that age, right? He was like 22, 23.
One Jack Grealish and 2 top players or 3 top players on top of that. Fair enough, But to go and say Jack Grealish was the answer, I think is a bit stupid.
No, in my opinion, I still stand by the point that if we'd have gone and bought Jack Grealish, a Paulinho type player, and a centre back, would have probably won the league the year Chelsea.
That year, we need a competition striker for Kane, like a senior competition striker for Kane, not just a young player. We needed another centre half that would be able to play either side. We needed like a winger, clearly, but not just a winger, young winger, like an actual winger that will challenge Son and Eriksen, whatever.
But this was the point. This is the point, though, to be able to have.
You're basically endorsing the transfer policy that's failed us for fucking 20 years.
No. What I'm saying is, right, if you look at the young players that we brought in at that time, Janssen, Clinton and Sheet and Kudu, had we have gone and brought in 3 clearly higher potential younger players that would have come in those moments, they would have actually been impactful off the bench. Then at that point, the transfer policy makes sense because the starting 11 was a mid-20s Eriksen, a mid to early 20s Dele Alli, a mid-20s Harry Kane, a mid-20s Heung-min Son, early 30s Moussa Dembele, a late 20s Wanyama, an early 30s Jan Vertonghen, a late 20s Toby Alvaro, a mid to late 20s Kyle Walker, a mid to 26, 27 Danny Rose, a mid to late Hugo Lloris. Like, if you actually look at that starting 11, it didn't need a stupid amount of established players.
What I'm trying to explain to you is that wasn't a planned 11. That was just an accident.
No, it might have been. But what I'm saying to you is when he stumbled into that 11...
It was an accident.
But this is what I'm saying to you. When he stumbled into that 11, that's the time where you sit there and go, you know what, fuck it, right. Let's go and spend £40 million on a couple of 22, 23-year-olds that can rotate and compete. And then by the time Wanyama's on the way out, that player's then 25, 26, and they're already ready to replace him. Rather than going and signing him.
You buy Riyad Mahrez, you buy you were in with Batshuayi. The players were
I went to Batshuayi at the time, but he turned out to be crap in the end. But
this is what I mean. At least that player was a senior player that would have at least given Kane, because he's a different kind of striker as well.
It wasn't competition we needed for Kane, though. It was rotation for Kane. That was the difference.
No, but this is the problem with the mentality. We don't need. I'm not saying Kane will be dropped, right? Yeah, we need to bring in a striker where, number one, you're going to be confident if you throw him in instead of Kane that he's going to get goals, right? And I'm saying Batshuayi, Mane, Wijnaldum.
Wijnaldum was the big one for me. Wijnaldum was 23, I believe.
Mane for me, we should have got that guy.
For me, Wijnaldum was the big one for me because you saw the way he played, you saw the energy out, you saw the drive he had with the ball. Obviously, he was never going to be Dembele level, but you saw how he was 23 at the time when he left Newcastle.
He was 24 anyway. But
either way, what I'm saying to you...
When you say young players, you're telling me players are like Archie Gray and Bergwijn were 18, 19 years old. I'm sorry, I'm not bringing an 18-year-old and 19-year-old into a team that's meant to be challenging for the title. You might bring in one.
You say that though, but you act like City haven't just gone and signed a 20-year-old centre-back to rotate as they're challenging for the title.
How is their squad, though?
No, but that's what I'm saying. We're talking about that specific Tottenham squad.
And
what I'm saying to you is the quality we brought in to be rotation was so bad. It was barely championship level. Had that rotation quality been Europa League players at 22, then by the time they'd be 23, 24, 25, they'd be Champions League level players, in theory. And then at that point, then they could have pushed. Wijnaldum wasn't a Champions League quality player in Newcastle.
He was a
Europa League quality player who had the potential to be better. And I think if we'd have spent the 40 million on him, not 35 on Sissoko, and you asked me if Dembele was injured, would Wijnaldum have been able to step up and be not anywhere near as big a drop as it was from him to Winks, for example? Would that have made a big difference to Tottenham? Absolutely. And was Wijnaldum Poch's choice? Absolutely. And this is another problem as well. And this is where I don't necessarily agree with some of the issues United fans have with the Glazers. Some of their issues is about how much is spent. And that I don't agree with because...
At least it's spending.
They back managers. They got Jose wanted Pogba.
They back Ten Hag.
Yeah, they back Ten Hag to hell and high earth. The problem is they don't have the right infrastructure in place and they make the wrong choice with the manager. They don't have the right infrastructure in place to get the best out of what positions they're going for,
What
so
resources
that when
have
they
as
do
well.
go and buy a player, they're spending 50 to 60% over market revenue, when they could have gone and got a lesser known player who was just as good with the same or better potential for 60% of the market value.
I think United's
I've
problem
never been a firm believer, right?
For me, United's problem is totally different.
Yeah, I've said this to you before. I've never been a believer that Spurs should go and spend £100 million on a player.
Why not?
I've never been a believer. Let me finish.
This is the issue with Levy, right? Because you just tell me that you don't. So you don't have an issue with Levy's transfer policy, then?
No, I do. Listen to me. Listen to me for a second.
No one got 100 million. I would have Declan Rice in a heartbeat at Spurs.
Right, listen to me for a second. In my opinion, I don't think, apart from Messi and Ronaldo, of this current era of football players, I don't think there is a single football player worth £100 million. If you say to me, I'm a football club owner, here's a blank checkbook, what player right now, outside of those two, would I go and spend £100 million on? I can't give you an answer. However, you can go and sign top quality, almost absolute world beaters for 60 to 70 million pounds. If you build a squad of 60 to 70 million pounds, Harry, you can shake your head all you like, but that fucking Georgian winger that you wanted from Napoli only went for 70 million. So you can sit there and say to me that every single world player has to be.
Why didn't I go get him then?
Right. We're not talking about the specifics. I'm just saying to you, if it was me and if it was my transfer policy, if it was my transfer policy, I would have a cap of senior first team players anywhere from 55 to 65 million and young players from 45 to 50 million. The reason being, if you're paying 45 to 50 million pounds for a young player, that means they are first team level is here and they are here, right? They are on the pressure, I don't know the word, but you know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're on the absolute edge of pushing into that first team and being able to compete with those players, right? At a young age, which is great. And then the players that you're bringing that are 50, 60, 70 million pound established players, I think right now, if we went to Brentford and dropped 50 million pounds on Mbembo, I think they'd sell it, right?
I heard they want 70, by the way.
Well, they can want 70 or they like, but his contract's up in 12 months and he's not signing a new one, so they're not going to get 70 million. If you drop, all right, okay, let's say you drop 65 million pounds on him then, right? Would he improve our...
Guillermo as a top player. He's a good player.
But what you got to remember, Harry, is...
You're not
what you got to remember, unfortunately...
Top quality players.
But Harry, these top players are not going to come to Tottenham.
Well, then why do we move into the new stadium then? What's the point?
Right, Harry. You've got to work your way back to getting to the point where we have the kind of team, or we're playing the kind of way, and we're in the kind of form, or we're at the kind of level all round to get to that point. And the only way to get to that point is to go and sign first team players in that 60 to 65 million pound bracket. You want to go and spend 100 million pound on every position. It's not going to happen.
You're not understanding what I'm trying to say. When push comes to shove, the top players nowadays cost like 80 million, right? Because for me, Solanke, I know you would disagree, but I don't think he's a top player. He's a good player, right? And this is the problem with Spurs. We've never gone out and bought a player which is like an elite, like a proper elite player. Okay, we have our level, right? Which is like the Solankes, the Johnsons, and this is the part of the problem, right?
I disagree with Johnson. We overpaid for a player that's not in the category of Solanke.
Because for me, that £60 million bracket, even with Richarlison, it's not a top forward. It's like a good one, average forward, right? And with the other positions, it's different. Like with a defender, maybe 60, 70 million would get you like a top centre half, right? Maybe in the DM, 60, 70 million, because a lot of positions, because of what they are, the price tag 60, 70 million would get you a top player in that position, right? But when it comes to attackers, for example, attackers cost like way. If you want a top attacker, okay, Rice is a bit of an exception because he's
not an attacker for starters.
But he was like West Ham's best player, and then we're not going to let him go for anything less than like 90 million. I don't think so. 100 million was kind of like going to happen, I think. But like for me, the fact that Ange came out and said Spurs will never spend 100 million is the problem in itself, because when you get up to, because obviously Alisson cost 90 million, when you get up to like the real, say we get second theoretically in the next 2 years, I'm just talking theoretically, right? You're going to have to break City. You're going to have to start dropping 100 million, 80, 90 million on top players to break it. You can't go out and sign these youngsters again. Say, oh,
I'm
he's a
not
good
saying
player.
sign youngsters, but
You're
I
just
don't
getting the
want.
same. Even if you bought like a player of 60, 70 million, there's another Solanke level player, you might have a less of a drop off when you bring your subs on. But this is a problem with the mindset. People think we have our set 11. Right? For example, on the Poch, we had our say set 11, right?
Yeah.
Rather than seeing it as though, like I was banging on about Mahrez, for example, for fucking ages in that time period. So I was like, we need to get a player like him.
But he went for 50 million. So you're sitting there and telling me
but
that
it's a different market then, because that was before the Neymar transfer. The Neymar transfer transformed everything. Remember Neymar?
No, obviously I know Neymar,
Yeah,
but
but you
I
know that
thought he transferred before Mahrez, to be fair.
No, it was after.
Oh.
Anyway, but the point I'm trying to say is that Mahrez nowadays will probably cost you 80 million. A Mahrez type player in that ilk, right? I would say about 80 million. But back then it was 50 because, like I said, it's inflation, yeah? So that's another thing. But for me, you say this is like because I look at Arsenal, right? They bought Rice, who elevated them up. I think way closer to City. Okay, they're having a bad season now, but last season they were like even closer because of Rice, in my opinion. Like Rice was the difference, and you can see their midfield like Partey, Rice, and Odegaard is fucking incredible. I think it's such a good midfield. But for me, if they say bought instead, look at Marino they signed, right, for like 40, 50 million.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that geezer. Like I know he scored 2 goals the other day, but is he? Is he really like going to elevate them another level? No, their transfer window they had was kind of like a settling window where they bought.
But they didn't bring players in that window to take him up to another level. They
Hold
brought
on
players
a minute.
in.
Hold on a minute. What is Arsenal's biggest problem?
They can't score goals.
Yeah, what they need a top striker. Top striker.
And a left winger.
Yeah, those players cost you like 80, 90,
But
100.
you say that, right? I'm sorry. This is where I'm going to unfortunately defend Arteta.
Like 80 million.
Hold on. This is where I'm going to unfortunately defend Arteta here. I think if you put Dom Solanke with his pressing and his finishing ability in and around the box in that Arsenal team, I think Arsenal would have a chance of winning the league.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Solanke is a top striker.
Solanke scored 20 fucking goals at Bournemouth.
Yeah, one season his whole career, and he's 27 years old.
But this is another point, though, is people need to stop assuming that, like, you act like players play just because some players have peaked before 27. The average age for a player to hit those kind of numbers is 27, 28, 29.
How old is Isak?
24, but he hasn't scored, like...
Look how many goals he scored in the Premier League. Or in all competitions you won. I mean, it's up to you.
He's 25. He'll be 26 this year, and he's got 17 goals in 23 games. Yeah, fair enough. But again, right, he's that, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but he is in that Mbappe price tag bracket. The only reason he's in that bracket is because strikers are so expensive. Bearing in mind, I'd like to point out, and this is going to completely ruin your point, Isak was 22, 21, was bought for £55 million and balled out, which is the age range and the price bracket I've just said about 5 minutes ago.
Do you think Newcastle are going to win the title?
No. Well, no, because the rest of their squad's shit.
Because the rest of their squad is not that level of player as Isak.
Right, okay, but I sat there and said to you,
wrong. They have a
going
good
and
team.
signing £70 million players as starters.
Now look at the rest of their attackers. Gordon's good, and then they have a problem for me on that right-hand side because they got... Like, there's not a player of that level of Gordon, at least on that side. And I think Eddie Howe's done a brilliant job, and this is why I do think he's done a brilliant job. I look at their defence. Okay, he's got good defenders, but does he have the top defenders? Does he have the top keeper? No. And this is why Newcastle, unless they're inconsistent, they will, but break that bracket.
But this is my problem, right? So you say Isak, right? I've literally just sat there 2 minutes ago and said I'd want 65 to 70 million pound starting players, and then 45 to 55 million pound 21, 22-year-olds that can push first team players and come in. Isak would have been in that exact bracket. I guarantee you, if we'd gone back 3 years and I said to you, we're going to go spend 55 million on a Swedish player who's got no more than 10 goals in La Liga in a calendar season, but I can see potential. You would have sat there and gone, that's a fucking waste of money. We should have signed an established player. We always say that, Harry. We've had this argument for the last 8 years.
Where were we 3 years ago?
Harry, we've had this argument for the last 8 or 9. Hold on. We've had this argument for the last 8 or 9 years now, and we say the same thing every time. You sit there and say that I want this player who's established, but you would have refused to buy them 2 years earlier off the back of an average season just because they weren't at the level you required. Now, football is as much of a lottery as it is about you can go and scout a player, look at a player, be absolutely certain. Let me finish. You can be absolutely certain that they're going to go and be a world beater, right? And you can sign them and they can flop, like Ndombele. We all thought he was going to ball out. We all thought he looked brilliant. He was playing top level in the Champions League. We all thought that was the caliber. You always say Champions League players. He was a Champions League quality player, came in and flopped. It didn't work, no problem, right? However, what you need to understand is sometimes these signings are a roll of the dice, and sometimes you'll get them wrong, and sometimes you'll get them right. Liverpool went and spent 60 million on Naby Keita, who was a fucking disaster for Liverpool. He had a couple of good games here and there, but now he's playing in some random third division side that you can't even start in.
League with them, didn't he?
Yeah, but he was crap still. But do you know what I mean? A bit of a cult hero, but again, no different than Sissoko was for us. But the way I see it is, you need to go and buy a squad of established Premier League players or create a squad of semi-established Premier League players and then go and spend £50 million, £55 million per young player in three, or like maybe one young defender, one young midfielder, one young attacker in that price bracket who could really push into the first team and excel beyond what's capable. Because if you don't go and spend that much at that age, then you're sat there 3 years later when a Bournemouth or a Newcastle or a Brighton has taken a chance on that player. You're sat there 3 years later paying £150 million for a player who's only probably worth £100 million because you refused to pay £50 million 3 years earlier.
But how many of these players exist that we look back and think,
all right, I'll give you another example. Bournemouth centre-half.
This is the problem with the transfer policy, because you're endorsing it right now. Yeah? The amount of young players I've seen come at Tottenham, right, have been overhyped. It's unbelievable.
That's because we're signing the wrong ones. I'm not saying that. Right,
Harry, signing a player, right? Yeah. A young player's going to succeed is actually very low. If you sign
hold on, Real Madrid can get 8 out of every 10 signings, young 18, 19-year-old signings right. Man United for a period could get 7 out of every 10 young signings right, but all of a sudden when it comes to Tottenham, it's impossible to do. It's not impossible to do. We're looking in the wrong places and we're not spending enough on those options. And he didn't work out for Atletico Madrid, right? And I'm going to say that now. He's been very average for Atletico Madrid. But you can't tell me that if we hadn't gone and dropped 50 million on Thomas Lemar instead of 11 million on Nkudu, that wouldn't have been more effective. My point is...
Yeah, but that 50 million back then was not the same 50 million now. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
But I think you're taking into account...
Lemar will cost you like 8... Someone like him will cost you 70 million probably. If it were talking in... No,
but you sit there, what you need to understand, right? So let me give you a great example. Right? Juventus sold a centre-half to Bournemouth for something like 15, 20 million a few years back, like 2 years ago. Couldn't get anywhere near their first team, was unproven. He had all the core abilities, but he was unproven. Bournemouth went and signed him for £20 million. He's been absolutely outstanding. And if he went now, he'd be going for £70 million.
Who?
I can't remember his name off the top of my head. What's his name?
Who are you talking
about? You'll recognise it as soon as I say it. He's been absolutely unbelievable this season. Squad.
I think I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name. I think I know what you're talking about.
Hunson. He's 19 years old, the centre half. Played 19 matches. His stats are through the roof. And he was a part of Juventus. Sorry, they signed him from Roma. He'd played 14 first-team games for Roma and was bang average at best. They spent... Let me check his... it was about £20 million. I can't remember exactly. Sorry, he was on loan at Juventus. He was on loan at Roma. Had an average loan. Came back to Juventus, was sold for peanuts, and now he's one of Bournemouth's best defenders. And you're sitting there and he's having links to Man United and this, that, and the other. What I'm saying to you is those players are available and those players are out there. And what you've got to remember is not every single club is going to sell a £70 million player for £70 million. The amount of clubs that are so poor financially or so so poverty-ridden financially that taking £40 million for them is better than getting nothing, right? Atalanta, for example, in La Liga, in Serie A, I think if you went and bid £60 million for Ederson right now, they'd take it. Not because he's worth £60 million, but because they can't afford to be £60 million worse off if they don't make Europe.
Also, I'd argue that's probably about his value anyway, because he's not.
Like if you compare Alisson, for example, the reason why Alisson went from Roma so much at the time was because he was playing in the Champions League. If Roma didn't get Champions League for 3 years straight and Liverpool went in for Alisson, it would have been 70 million, not 90 million. What you've got to remember is clubs...
Again, that's more than 60 million or 65 million. 70 million is like a
£5 million difference. We're splitting hairs here, mate.
For me,
potato, right?
What you just told me is probably why they bought Alisson, because he's proved himself in the Champions League.
No, but what I'm saying to you, though, is there
are... When you bought Alisson and Van Dijk, like, you knew, hand on heart, I knew as soon as they signed him, I was like, Liverpool.
But you sit there and say about Van Dijk, right? But you looked at okay, let's take our beloved Tottenham, for example. You look at the way Van Dijk played against us, he was dreadful. Kane, have you seen that clip of us in the blue?
You not seen how long Van Dijk's been at Liverpool for, how successful he's been? And
right, now, yes. But what I'm saying to you is that's another gamble of, okay, yeah, cool, they spent £70 million on him because Southampton needed the money.
Like 3-4 years in the league. Yeah,
he wasn't outstanding at Southampton. There was potential to be a good defender. He was never world-class potential at Southampton.
I don't think you watched enough from the Southampton, but anyway.
I watched just when we played against him and he was left on his arse repeatedly.
You do realise that was Harry Kane, though?
Okay. So you're saying a player who's going to be a world-class defender comes up against the best of the best in his counteracting position and can't handle him? For me, that's not someone who's ever going to be the best. For me, Van Dijk...
Would you not take Van Dijk over what we've got now?
Obviously, what I'm saying to you is that was still a gamble. You're sitting there and talking about...
Van Dijk and Alisson were gambles because, number one, Alisson, like you just told me yourself, had Champions League experience and top-level experience, and he was an established goalkeeper. It's Brazil's number one, right?
Right, let me give you a good example.
Everyone in the Premier League knew how good Van Dijk was. He was even living with other clubs, not just Liverpool. And we knew how good he was going to be at Liverpool. Like, you could... They had a problem with... Was it Lovren they had before that? Where they were trying to do the 50, 30, 40 nonsense back then, and it was not working. So what they do? They go out and said, look, we need to fix this problem. Let's drop 90 and 70 million on these two players, fix the problem, instead of trying to do it on the cheap, which is what Levy does.
Right, but if you look at... I'm going to give you another example, right? If you look at... Salah in his last season at Roma, he played 41 games, got 19 goals, 12 assists. Now that's great, but at that point he was a mid-20s level player, playing in a below, 25? Something like that, playing in a below par league, right? If we'd have dropped £65 million on a 25-year-old who was good in an average league, who had no Champions League or minimal Champions League experience at that stage, we'd be sitting there saying we've overpaid, we should have gone with someone more proven, should have gone with a Premier League proven player. A year later, he played just 11 games more and scored 25 goals more and got 2 assists. No one could have foreseen that sheer degree of jump. I thought he'd be good at Liverpool. I didn't think he'd do anywhere near that level.
They bought him just before he's literally on his peak year, really. If you look at age-wise, 26 was...
But players don't... Not all players peak at that level anymore.
This one, he was 25, right? Going on 26. He's not you buying a 22-year-old. He's got potential.
Sadio Mane, when he signed for Liverpool...
He was 24, wasn't he? I think.
I can't remember exactly, but his highest goal-scoring season in 43 games was 15 goals.
But he wasn't... His role in that system was not just to score goals, right? You do know that, right?
Yes, but what I'm saying to you, in terms of...
They were trying to set up Salah most of the time.
In terms of, proven ability,
I would say
it wasn't like he set the world alight.
He was Premier League proven. This is why...
Yeah, but your definition of Premier League proven and my definition of Premier League proven are two different things.
No, because you think 22-year-olds are going to win us the league. They're not going to win us the league. No,
I'm not saying that. We're not going to win the league no matter what. I'm saying to you is...
Arsenal did the right thing in signing Rice, 100%, because he fixed that midfield. He literally...
Right.
Victor in midfield. And then the problem is there was season after, and that's I think it was due to PSR, by the way. This is partly due to PSR.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
They went, say, cheaper in that window, and we've seen the drop off at Arsenal, right? I know it's part, Marino, yeah, he's all right. He might be somewhat good. The other players they signed, they're all right.
Okay, I'm going to give you another example. Because you keep wanting to bring up Arsenal on a Tottenham podcast.
Someone like Isak, it didn't have to be Isak. There's Gyökeres on the market, right? We know how good Gyökeres is. Yeah, top striker. Yeah, I think they'll probably win the league.
Right, let me ask you this question.
Blanky, though, I think they would have been maybe a little bit better because I don't think for me there's much between him and Havertz personally.
Right, let me ask you this question. Saliba played for Marseille for one season and been okay in an average league. He was signed for Arsenal at 20 years old. You would now argue he is up there with one of the best centre-backs in the league.
He was loaned out for 2 years.
Oh, did they sign him from Saint Etienne?
Yeah.
All right, okay, even more so then. So, 19...
Do you not understand
All right, so hold on, 2 seconds then. 2 seconds. This is going to prove my point even more so. He was an 18-year-old signed for 35, 40 million pounds, right? Which is less than what I've said I want to pay on youngsters. He was loaned out for 2 years and at 20 has come into Arsenal and been one of the best centre-backs in the world.
But how many
proves...
Not
hold
many.
on, 2 seconds. That proves... I'm not saying you're going to get a full starting 11 of them, but it proves that you can go and sign 4 or 5 young players. And if you pay the higher price for the younger player, you are going to get a better quality player, a more ready player, and a higher potential player, which means when they are on the bench and they come on, that gap between them and the first team players is going to be smaller, and you have them for a longer period of their career. Right? If we'd have signed Jan Vertonghen at 21 years old, would you have had the same mindset as when we did sign him?
We signed him at 25 or 26, didn't we?
But that's what I'm saying. Jan wasn't good until Poch.
Actually, no, he was good under AVB. In my opinion. He
was inconsistent. He had great moments, but he was inconsistent under AVB.
Partners, to be honest. The partners he played with was for shit.
But this is my point.
It was like a mess, I remember.
All right, so you were sitting there saying about Gyökeres, right? There was clear to see his quality at Coventry. He went for 35?
It wasn't clear to see it was quality at Coventry. There's a reason why,
I guess you didn't watch the Championship then. Because as someone who lives in a town that had the Championship on consistently, he was a top performer for Coventry consistently, week in, week out.
But again, none of the Premier clubs would have even batted an eyelid at him until we went out.
But now you want to go and spend 4 times the amount when we'd have just taken a gamble on him.
These players we've named, right, now they're established, yeah? If Gyökeres went to Sporting Lisbon, yeah, and stunk it out, you wouldn't be mentioning him. There's so many players...
neither would you.
No, but there's so many...
If Isak went to Newcastle and scored 2 goals his whole time, you wouldn't be mentioning him. You can say that about any player.
Because you're picking anomalies, right? Yeah?
I could go and name you 100 players in the last 20 years that have had the same.
If you was 120 years, yeah, my established thing would be 101 year.
I just think, for me personally, if I was a football club owner, I'm not saying I would never ever go and sign any established players.
Levy's thing, literally right now.
No, because I don't want to be going and spending £20 million on Odegaard. I'd rather be going and spending £50 million on Victor Ruiz from, he's at Barcelona, but he's on loan at Real Betis at the minute. I would be going and paying for the next calibre up, not even the next category, the next category above that quality youngsters that are almost ready to be in the first team from that point. And then you have 10 years with them, not 5 years with them. What you think I'm saying is we should never ever sign any players above £30 million. We should never sign any players above £50 million. My point is, I don't ever personally ever want to see us spend £100 million on one single player.
This is the problem, though, in itself, because in today's day and age, because of inflation, if you're going to sign a top player, especially we're talking 3-4 years. Right,
but you can talk about inflation, but the difference between me and you paying our taxes every year and going to Asda and doing our shopping every week, inflation, is a complete different impact to people that have hundreds of billions of pounds. Those people in that top bracket are impacted by inflation this much, whereas you and I are impacted by inflation this much. If you're shopping, if you're shopping a week, if you're shopping,
transfer impacted the whole of football, right?
I still don't think so, because how many transfers have we seen to that level since? Not that,
right.
Don't get me wrong. Until Saudi come in and go and spend 1.4 billion or whatever the fuck it's going to be on Vinicius, then I'd agree with you, right? Because that changes the dynamic of everything. But it's been so many years since that Neymar transfer, and we are still seeing 50, 60 million pound players that are 18 to 22, 23, be signed for clubs, be incredible for top clubs, and take them to the next level. And you need to stop acting like the only players that can improve your team are 27 to 28, played in the Premier League for 10 years, and posters of Rooney on their wall when they were a kid. It doesn't just work like that.
You understand what I'm saying. You see some players in their peak, which is 27 to 28 is actually not actually the peak, but...
but everyone peaks differently. There's no set time. Football players used to stop playing the minute they turned 31.
Why do you think?
It doesn't happen anymore.
No. I'm saying you're just endorsing his transfer policy. You don't get it.
I do get it, and we have disagreed with this for the last 8-9 years.
£100 million players. There you go, Ange. We're not winning the title.
You don't need to sign £100 million players to win the title.
You do.
You don't. You don't. Right. You know the phrase, work smart, not harder, right? We need to sign smarter and not don't get me wrong. Yes, we need to spend more money on the youngsters that we are signing. Don't disagree with that.
Not the youngsters. We need to sign first-team ready players.
So I tell you what then. You want to go and spend £100 million on 11 different players, and you think that will help us win. You think, okay, let me ask you this, Harry. I give you a budget. Hold on. I give you a budget.
Attackers, you're going to have to drop that big money.
Hold on, 2 seconds. I give you a budget of £1.5 billion right now. That's more than £100,000 per starting 11 player, right? Do you think within 2 years we can win the league? Yes or no?
Well, it depends how we spend that money. If
right.
we drop,
that's my point. You've just proven my point. You've proven that the money being spent doesn't matter.
No, you're missing my point. What we would do and what you're trying to say do, if we spend that 1.5 billion on divided by 50 million on average.
No, I divided it by 11 million. Divided by 100 million. So £100 million per player plus a little bit left over for the squad depth.
So I'm saying we're trying to say. How much did you say?
Right, so I'm saying you get to go and spend £100 million per position with whatever's left over from 1.5 billion, so 300 million, to spend on your bench, right? Do you think we could win the league in 2 years, yes or no?
No, that's not enough money.
You are absolutely fucking mental.
What you don't understand is with Haaland, right? Because everyone will say Haaland was cheaper, right? But Haaland's because he had a release clause. If he didn't have a release clause, it would cost you over 100 million.
Right, but the fact is they bought a player in the bracket we're talking about for less than 100 million.
Because he had a release clause. There's a massive difference here.
Okay, so we should go and buy top quality players with release clauses then. What's your point?
You're not understanding my point.
2 seconds. I want to go through all Man City's transfers.
Top teams, right? You're going to need to spend 100 million on a player. You make out, I want to say, on every single position when it's not 100 million. The defenders will cost you maybe 50 to 60 at the very max, right? In today's day and age, yeah? The midfielders might cost you a bit more. When it comes to attacking players naturally cost more. It's just how it is. Because goals, it's goals, man. It's just goals.
Right, 2 seconds. Right, I want to go through the list of. I want to go through. Where is it? Not that one. Okay, let me ask you this question. If, ignoring the fact that he just got injured, if we were to sign Manuel Akanji right now, how much would you pay for him?
I think it would cost you like 70 million probably.
Right. They signed him for £20 million and he was barely a squad player at Dortmund. Okay. You would argue he's a key player for Man City, yeah? In the last 18 months. In the last 2 years, he's been a key player for Man City, yeah?
I think he's basically been a squad player, to be honest.
There's another example I'm just trying to find.
That's what I'm trying to say. There's not many examples of this.
Right. Julian Alvarez. How much would you have paid if we'd have signed him from City to compete with Kane? How much would you have paid for him? Bearing in mind he went for 90 million, which is your 90 to 100 million pound golden bracket. How much would you have paid for him?
About the same, probably.
Right. 3 years before that, he was bought for 21 million.
Sorry?
3 years before that, he was bought for 21 million. There's another example, but I'm trying to find it. Right. If you were to sign Nathan Ake right now, because bearing in mind Nathan Ake would be the perfect cover left centre back and left back for us, right? We've said this already. We mentioned him in the summer when we were talking about our wish list for players to sign. How much would you pay to sign Nathan Ake right now?
Personally, I don't consider him a top player, by the way, because you just said cover as well. That proves my point. Like 50 million, maybe?
Right. He went for 50 million from Bournemouth and he's gone as a squad player. My bracket of 50 to 60 million pounds for squad players is like for young players to push.
Million that you're talking about is not enough to break the bracket between the two.
How much? Okay, let's say Man City were willing to sell Leroy Sané from us. How much would you have paid for him?
What, years ago?
Like when he left to go to Bayern, how much would you pay for him?
How old is he then, though?
Fuck knows. Just answer the question.
No, it is relevant because he was like
23,
30.
24, I think.
No, do you mean? Sorry, talking about when he went to?
No, when he went from Man City to Bayern.
Yeah, he was older then, though.
No, he wasn't that old. He was like 25, 26.
I'm sure he was older than that.
Well, he's only 31 now and he's been gone at least 5 years. So
let me just check because it's actually relevant. Because if he was on his downwards thing, then yeah, it kind of makes sense. It would cost less. Sane goes to Bayern. Bayern Munich. I don't think it will say his age.
Well, he's 31 now and it was 5 years ago, so he would have been 26. 25, 26.
Bear in mind, he was very out of favour at City.
Just answer the fucking question. Stop coming up with excuses. Sane, at that point, who showed his quality in the Premier League, how much would you have paid for him?
Bear in mind, this guy was injury prone.
Bearing in mind, he would be a starter now for us. Next, go on.
About 50 million is about right.
Right. That's exactly what Bayern Munich spent on him.
Yeah, you're proving my point then.
Right, Rodri was a...
City, was he? He got sold.
Right, yeah, that's because Pep
I'm talking about
ruins wingers. What I'm saying to you is they're players that at a certain point would have taken us to a whole different level, and you seem to think that the only way to get world-class players is by spending £100 million in those key positions, and I just don't think...
No, I didn't say every position. Specific, more so the attacking position. Okay, you might get the odd defender, might cost like a lot of money, but like I'm sorry, in today's day and age, this is why
Mahrez was 60 million, Sane was 50 million.
Mahrez was 60 million back in what year?
Shut up.
Thank you.
Exactly, but it doesn't. I still think
Mahrez
that
was like 70, 80.
Right, question. If we'd have signed Rodri back when he was 23, Atletico Madrid, he was an average player at Atletico Madrid, by the way. He never showed potential to be this good. How much would you... But let's say 2019, 2020, when they signed him, we signed him to be Wanyama's long-term replacement. How much would you have paid at that point? Bearing in mind, I'm saying starting players...
What year is this when he signed?
2019, 2020.
I need to think about the market then. Hold on. No, it's irrelevant.
I'm so glad you don't play Football Manager because playing it with you would make me want to kill myself.
Probably like 40 million, 50 million.
Right, he was bought for 68.5 million.
Doesn't that prove my point?
No, that proves my point because I turned around and said that the world-class players you can buy in that £70 million bracket, you don't need to spend £100 million, but you have to pay for them when they're unproven and give them the chance to prove.
You could argue Rodri was proven because if he did well,
he wasn't. Not at that point.
He probably was proven. It's just that you don't watch enough Spanish football.
He probably was proven. You're literally making up pure hypotheticals to prove your point.
If you play for Atletico Madrid, mate, they were playing Champions League football for like what? How many years?
Right. And Kieran Trippier played.
what did I say?
Right, hold on. Kieran Trippier played for Atletico Madrid. Does that mean he was world class and he was proven and he was established?
Well, by the time he went there, he was established. He was what 20
He
years?
couldn't make it at Tottenham, who was supposedly a bigger league than.
To be fair, the Tottenham situation is a bit.
You're literally bending the rules to fit
No,
your
not really
argument.
rules. Trippier said what he said. They didn't want him at the club. Do you not remember that?
Yeah, but it's not the point.
It is the point, because when players are not wanted at the club, the club's going to sell him for less. When you sign a cast off, it's going to cost less, like naturally. Like, it's going to cost less. It's how it is. They want to get rid of the player, they're going to sell him for less. If there's a player they want to keep, they're going to charge more. It's just natural. It's just football. I'll give you an example, right? Modric, right? You know when Chelsea tried to sign him all those years ago? Bear in mind that the context, that was 2012. So the inflation, again, if I was to translate, that would have been like 80 million. But they tried to sign for 40 million. Levy said no. If that same kind of transfer tried to happen now, yeah, it will cost you like 80 million plus. We're talking about peak Modric 20. If he was peak Modric, say 24, 25, wherever he was, in 2025, you're talking like 70, 80 million.
Let me ask you a question. Ignoring the fact he's been shit this season, because Chelsea have been shit in general. Who? Based off of last season's performance, how much would you pay for Cole Palmer? If Chelsea said, Tottenham, give us a price and we'll accept it, how much would you pay for Cole Palmer?
Bear in mind, I don't think he's that elite, but he's kind of
Bearing in mind he's only like 23, but go on. In fact, I don't even think he's that old. He might be 21.
I mean, there's a reason why City sold him, I guess.
Because Pep's a 20. He's 22. He'll be 23 in May, so call it 23. How much would you pay for Cole Palmer now at 23? With at least 9 years left in top level football, if he hits what he hit last season consistently, how much would you pay for him?
But you say he's not doing it now. He's not hitting it consistently now.
Yeah, because Chelsea themselves are shit. And to some extent, our players are only as good as their consistency in their team. And also, Poch knew where to play to get the best out of them, because Poch was always good at getting the best out of attacking midfielders. Maresca's system doesn't suit Cole Palmer at all.
I mean, no, because, like, again, we're basing off one season. Like,
well, just answer the question. How much did you pay for him?
For like 50 million or something?
I'll tell you that in a minute if you answer the fucking question. How much would you pay for him?
50 to 60.
Right, so you would have spent £50 million. Bearing in mind, if Chelsea can sign a player for Man City, Tottenham can sign a player for Man City, right? Chelsea are no better than Spurs at the moment. We're all shit. Chelsea, Tottenham, United, we're all fucking wank. Now, you can't tell me that if we went and spent £50 million on Cole Palmer, that wouldn't be a huge upgrade on competition for that right wing. That it wouldn't be. He would start for starters.
Look at the standards of players we have on that right wing, though.
Hold on. Bearing in mind he's English. Bearing in mind he's. Say?
Look at the crap we have on the right wing.
Right, but this is my point. He's a player who walks into our starting 11, who's Premier League proven, who's young, who's English, hold on, and who's in that £50 million price bracket.
You're using Tottenham as a barometer for a top team now. You can't use Tottenham as a barometer for a top team now. You can't. We're not that Poch team anymore.
But he was signed. No, but my argument I'm making is he was signed from...
I'm sure I could name you 100 players in the league. I'll probably walk into our team right now.
No, but what I'm trying to show you is proof that another team, with a bigger team than us, more established than us, signed a player from a Premier League club who was a young player in that £50 million bracket, and they are a top player who has potential to be not an elite player, but he has potential to be within the bracket of world class.
I'm talking about elite players, not like just he might have a chance to be elite. Like, I'm talking about players that you know will be like elite.
Did Cole Palmer have an elite season last season, yes or no?
I don't do one season wonders, so.
Oh, fuck.
There's a reason why Kane got sold for, what, 80, 90 million? Because he proved himself over how many years at Spurs?
Yeah, but oh my God, man, we're never going to go and sign 32-year-olds that have been good for 10 years.
But this is the problem in itself. There you go.
No, it's not. If you think going and spending like borderline £100 million on a bunch of borderline retirees is the right thing to do to make Tottenham win the league, you are off your rocket.
Would you have sold Kane? Yes.
No, of course I wouldn't have done. I'm not fucking idiot.
There's the answer then. Because you wouldn't have sold Kane for, you would say, theoretically speaking, you would rather have kept Kane and bought a player like Kane for 90 million rather than sold a player like Kane for 90 million. So therefore, you do value a player of that ilk at 90 million. Then
I value him because he was already here.
there's your answer. Then he's up and ready. He's already there. So
But
it
if
costs
we didn't have
90 million.
Kane, would I rather of us gone and spent £50 million on a player from abroad like Newcastle did with Isaac that has all the characteristics to be potentially brilliant in a great team? Hold on. Or go and spend £100 million on a player who's going to be good for 3 years, break a leg and retire? I'd rather go and sign the Isaac player.
You're basically endorsing Levy's transfer.
Well, I'm not because I've already turned around and said that his recruitment strategy is shit, and the players that we go and sign.
No, but again, like I told you, he wants to make stars, which is what you're basically trying to say right now. You want to try and make stars rather than buy. I'm not saying.
No, hold on. Because you clearly misinterpreted what I've said.
When I say stars, by the way, I don't mean like Galacticos.
Making world class players or making world beating players requires signing them at 16 or 17, paying a low fee, which is a low risk, high reward strategy. What I'm referring to is a high risk, high reward strategy, which is paying a higher premium price for the more established and higher ceiling and closer to first team ready world beaters that when they come in and play, you're like, fuck, he's going to play for us for the next 10 years. That's the kind of youngster I'm talking about. Not scraping the barrel at the bottom of the championship, 15 million on Joe Rodon. No offence, Joe. I'm sure you love it. Your brother's got a great Twitter account. Do you know what I mean?
You mean Sam? Is it Sam as well?
Yeah, Sam, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, when we signed Wanyama, we went and spent like 25, 30 million on him.
He had like a year left on his contract.
All right, okay. But with whatever, okay.
He is relevant.
Okay, but let's say he didn't. So let's add another 20 million on if he had 2 years left.
Yeah, but again, that's 2015, 2016, 2017? Before the Neymar transfer.
The Neymar transfer did not impact the price of Southampton's rotation midfielder. I'm sorry, it just didn't. And I refuse to believe that you can sit there and base all your financial arguments on inflation. I've never felt like I'm in more of a fucking Tory party fucking meeting at the House of Commons than I do right now. I seriously think that you... Okay, let me... What is the Bank of England's inflation rate right now?
Current transfer record... Okay. Was set by the transfer of Neymar to Barcelona to PSG for 200 million in August 2017.
Right, Harry, I'd like to point out the Bank of England's current interest rate is 4.5%. So if we do, we do the £60 million that I'm talking about now, plus 4.5%, that's 700,000 more.
I mean,
it's not even £1 million more. Okay. Sorry, it's £2.5 million more. So the inflation rate, the physical UK inflation rate, would have £60 million go up by £2.5 million.
Vardy went for 77 million though. Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
So Harry, like the Bank of England's physical interest rate would put the transfer increase of a £60 million player up by 2.5 million.
Football's a totally different thing, mate. Like,
oh man, you can't sit there and create fake interest rates to prove your argument.
I don't need an interest rate to prove my argument. The transfers prove them themselves. Like,
because we go. Oh my god. Okay, let me ask you this: we spent £12 million on Vincent Janssen, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Batshuayi went to Chelsea for £25 million.
Yeah.
That was twice the amount. Did he score twice the amount of goals? Probably more than that. Was he twice as effective? At least more than that. 25 million back then is about 35 million pounds now.
I would say about 50, but anyway.
Double! You are off your fucking rocket.
No,
you are smoking crack.
No, because he's Batshuayi. Probably for me is like more than that. You know, he probably was like a Solanke level player back then.
You are off your rocket.
No,
oh my! This might be the stupidest thing you've ever said in your entire life.
No, look at Batshuayi's scoring record back then. Did you not?
You are about to regret saying that. You are about to regret saying that. Or I'm about to end the podcast one of two ways. at Marseille, in the French league, he had 10 goals in 28 games and then 23 goals in 50. So he averaged a goal every other game in a shit league. Then he came to Chelsea, got 9, 10, 9, 3, 6, 6, 2, 14, 20, 24, 7,
Very
and
much
9.
only made like 20 appearances.
Hold on. I would like to point out, since he left Marseille, he's got double figures in goals 4 times. He left Marseille a decade and a bit ago. And less than 50% of those seasons since, he's scored more than 10 goals. I'm sorry, your argument of him being a £50 million player now is absolute bullshit.
It's not bullshit, because he's basically...
It is bullshit.
Bullshit. How many
so
goals
you want to go and spend £50 million on a player with 9 goals then?
How many goals has Richarlison scored for us, and he cost 65?
Yeah, but that's because we signed him from a Premier League club, which is what you want us to do.
No, not that level Premier League club. Not that level.
Like, I might send that to Jack.
No, but and also Solanke, not that level Premier League club.
Man said no disrespect and then came out with the most disrespectful thing you could think of.
And same with Bournemouth. Bournemouth are fighting relegation. Why do you think
I'll give you an argument with
in the first place? We signed players from Forest almost went down. Bournemouth fighting relegation. We're signing players from literally what you said, 50, 60 million.
Let me ask you this question.
Players who almost went down. Robbie Danso went down with Southampton. You know that, right?
About 10 years ago. What?
Why are we signing a player who's seen relegation? The brother's probably got PTSD or something.
Okay, hold on a second. Moussa Dembele was signed from a championship club.
No, Fulham were Premier League club.
Fulham were championship at the time.
No, they weren't. They were Premier League.
I'm sure they were championship at the time.
They were definitely a Premier League club.
Well, if they were, then they were fighting relegation, probably.
Why do you think because there's an argument going around.
You want us to shop like we're in Billy. Like you want us to shop like we're Megan Fox, when in reality we're the local Argos worker. But
this is the problem with the mentality of the club, because we have one of the richest incomes in sport, right? That's Tottenham, right? Whatever it is, the entity.
But rich doesn't mean smart.
No, but this is what I'm trying to say, because what I'm trying to explain to you, every transfer window is we'll buy quantity over quality. So we'll sign 4 or 5 players, say, even your theories of 40, 50 million pounds each, rather than signing 2 or 3 top players at 70, 80 million pounds each. And then you get first teamers that will come in. Okay, you go there. Look,
what did we say?
Alisson and Van Dijk.
Literally 3 months ago, something along those lines, we were talking about sometime before Christmas. We were saying how we need to replace the current squad with £50 million quality players, and then replace those with £80 million stars.
What you want to do. I want us to go out and buy some top players. What's the point in having this?
Because it's never going to happen. You're living in cuckoo land.
Because we've got Levy in charge. That's why it's never going to happen.
Even if we had the fucking Qataris in charge, it's never going to happen. Because those calibre of players will not join Tottenham.
Well, then why did we do this?
Acting like we're going to go and shop in fucking
Why did we build
Harrods?
Why did we build a stadium then? Why did we build a training ground then? Why do we do all these things? Why do we have one of the highest incomes in sport? What was the point?
We built them to be... Harry, players won't just come for money. You seem to act like you can go and convince the best player in the world to join you whether you shit or not.
We have issues with wage structure as well. Like the wage structure is part of the problem, because our highest paid players on 190 grand a week, 200 grand a week. Levy cut the wage bill, remember, in the summer? And
I still don't think having a squad of players on more than 200...
Conte warned us that he would do this, because after we had Bentancur, Kulusevski, who have been successful players, right?
You are mad.
Let me finish. Yeah. I wouldn't say they're the top players. I think they're like...
If we sold Kulusevski right now, he'd go for that 80 to 90 million pounds that you seem to want us to spend in. So
I don't think we'll go for that level, to be honest. I think we might go for 70 if we're lucky. But anyway, he warned us, saying the club wants to sign young players on low wages, and this is what will happen to us. And look at where we are now. We're 12th in the league. With a rubbish manager who's part of the problem why we are 12th in the league.
We're not even talking about him today. I don't care.
I know, but I'm just saying. But we're 12th in the league. So the proof is in the pudding that the transfer policy does not work. We just sign young players. the biggest thing, right? I'm okay with signing some young players, right? Like I said, every window we sign one young player and the rest with 2 or 3 senior players. And then the young player comes in, learns off the senior player. We take one gamble a summer. We're taking 4 or 5 gambles every summer and saying, oh, look, Gray's going to come in and be a top player. Even if he ends up being a top player, by the time he comes top player, Van de Ven and Romero won't even be here. But I have Van de Ven Romero now. What do you do? No, go out and sign that top number 6 or very good number like Edison.
You keep saying that, but the manager doesn't want that. So what do you do? Do you back the manager?
He should be here then. Get rid of him.
Because you don't agree with him. Whether you like it or not, he's here. And right now, he's here to the end of the season. I've accepted that. So you have 2 choices. You either back the manager how he wants to do it.
I'm not going to back the manager because I don't believe in him. He's giving me nothing to believe in.
Well, okay, but this is your problem. You can't. You sat there and preached for years and years and years and years and years about do what the manager wants. Let the manager have their freedom. Levy stay the fuck away from it. And now, because the manager's someone you don't like, all of a sudden, I want to go and spend 70 million on the number 6, even though actually the manager doesn't want a number 6. The manager doesn't feel he needs a number 6. The manager's system doesn't feel it needs a number 6. But you want to do it anyway because that's what you think.
Name me one other top team in Europe who doesn't play with number 6.
I don't watch every fucking team in Europe. I don't know. I don't give a shit. Because I don't. Name me 5 celebrities whose middle name is Joseph. In the Premier League, you can't do it. You can't do it. That means it doesn't exist.
Every top team in Premier League history, has won the league. Has always had a proper defensive midfielder.
Harry, name me 5 celebrities with a middle name Joseph. You can't do it. Oh, it means it doesn't exist then because you can't do it off the spot, off the top of your head.
I'll be honest, but naming teams in Europe's not that difficult. Compared
I don't watch teams in Europe. I don't fucking know who doesn't play with the 6 and who doesn't.
If it was such a reinvent the wheel, Andrew would be sitting at Real Madrid, mate. He wouldn't be sitting at Tottenham.
You are the most infuriating person to be friends with sometimes.
This guy's a fraud. He needs to get out of our club along with Levy.
Okay, I'm going to give you 2 options now.
Every week. Bloody Villa were playing the ball through the middle. I couldn't believe what I was seeing right now in the game. Through the middle. Not even on the sides. Man was playing it through the middle. And then because he didn't have a defensive middle.
Let me ask you this question.
Honestly, I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Let me ask you this question. On
the sides because we inverted the wing fullback. We were inverting them as well. But then I was watching the teams going through the middle and I was like,
let me ask you this question. Levy goes and Ange stays until you're 85, or Ange goes and Levy stays for the rest of your life. What do you choose?
Can they both go and I could die?
No, it's a one-time deal. Pick an answer.
Oh, I thought fucking Ange will win a championship then. I guess I'll take the 85 of Ange.
So the fact that you would rather see the manager stay over Daniel Levy shows that you don't hate the manager.
Then I'll be watching League One football in a few years.
Mate, listen. Watch my YouTube channel. You can watch me managing the championship.
I'm pleased with the fact that I'll be watching League One football, League Two football in 5 years.
All I'm saying, AFC Richmond got relegated, and then the second year they came up, finished second.
So now you're basing it off of a series.
It's a joke. Fuck me. I've got 2 days off now. You make me want to kill myself.
I mean, we do score Tottenham, to be fair, so it's probably the reason why.
But this is the problem. Tottenham's only 50% of it. Being friends with you kills me off the rest of it when it comes to these fucking podcasts, man.
But honestly, I just don't believe in
days like this make me wish I was still going to the gym on a Monday.
Your theory would only take us so far. This is what would probably take us to the top 4. But
what I'm saying is you need to do that first level of foundation building before you can take the last 10%.
You've been sold project word for years, yeah?
That's because he doesn't do it properly. If you actually did it the way a project should be, the way I'm telling you it should be done, and then when you need the 1 or 2 absolute world beaters to take you to that final stage, if you said to me, right, so despite the fact that you don't seem to know what the interest percentage is, let's say the interest is your magic 25%, you seem to think it is, right?
In football,
let's say that we went and signed £50 million players plus 25%, so £75 million, 2 £75 million players in that Poch team. I think we win the league, right?
So you're agreeing with me then?
Hold on, let me finish. But that was because the entire starting 11 already was outstanding. So then when you move 2 of those outstanding players to the bench, and you bring in 2 world-class players, Will that get you over the line? Yes. And I'm not disagreeing with you to say that policy doesn't work. But I'm saying you need to get a fully well-rounded, deep, quality squad first before you can go and take that £100 million.
The examples you use, for example, with us, even the Redknapp team was not a planned thing. It's not like they didn't sit there and say we plan to sign 2 young fullbacks and said, oh, you know what we're going to do in that team? We're going to sign 2 established centre halves as well. On top of that, then we're going to have an established keeper. Then we're going to have the Poch team
yes, it came together by accident, but the process, the overall thought process about if you gave me a completely empty squad and you gave me a blank checkbook and you said for the first 3 years I can spend £50 million on each player per position, and then in the 3 years after that I can upgrade 75% of those £50 million players to £75 million players, and then at the end of that 5-year period of building the squad, doing £50 million players for 2 years, and then replacing 6 of those £22 million players with £70 million. 6 of those £50 million players with £75 million players. So that's another 25% increase in value. And then at the very end of that bracket, how many players do I think I would need to win the title of 90 to £100 million players? I would say 1, possibly 2, absolute maximum, because the whole rest of the squad is depth.
Would you say 90 to £100 million players?
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is I don't disagree that eventually you might need to spend that to get over the line, like Liverpool did, or like Chelsea have tried to do, or, well, not tried to do, but like City have done it in various times. I'm not saying you will never need those players to get over the line, because you might win the league on a terrible year like Leicester did. You might not need them. You might not. The league might go to 100 points every year.
Was an anomaly.
Let me just finish. Like you might get to the point where the league finishes on 100 points every season for 5 years, and you need that. But what I'm saying to you is you need to do the proper foundation building first. And then once you've done the proper foundation building, that last final 2% to get you over the line might require that 90 to £100 million player. But it doesn't require a whole squad of them, and it doesn't require them on day one. Let's say of a 30-day project, to scale it down. Out of a 30-day project, it requires them on day 27 or day 28, not day 2 or day 3. Realistically, right now, with where this squad is, we're in day 6 or 7. Because, yes, signing too many 18, 19-year-olds has hindered that process, right? Because you've got 3 category of players. You've got your 18 to 19-year-olds, you've got your 23 to 25-year-old, and then you've got your experienced players, right? We have a handful of players in the top category, a reasonable chunk of players in the 23 to 25, 26 bracket, and then we have quite a large number of players that are 18 or below, or 19 or below, right?
19 or below, yeah.
We now need to pack out that middle category next, so that the younger players have time to develop and move up to that category, and then you can only buy 1 or 2 to filter. That your biggest category at a football club should be your 22 to 27 player. Because that allows you got some of those that will be top-level starters, some of those that will be average squad players, and some of them that will be consistent main first-team players.
Because really the first team should be the priority, so you should be spending the bigger money on the established player.
No, I'm not talking about bigger money. I'm talking about in terms of the volume of players, the amount of individual human beings.
For me, my argument would be buying 3 first-teamers and 1 youngster.
No, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about like spreading the 22-man squad into 3 age categories. Right now,
but there should be less 18 and 19-year-olds in that squad.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. Listen to what I said. I said right now our squad is built into probably 35%.
18, 19.
Yeah, I'm trying to do the maths. 35%, 40%. 30%. No, not even that, actually. Not even that. It's more like 20%, 40%. 40%. Yeah, I'd say that's about right. When in reality, it probably should be 25%, 45%, 35%. because you will have first team top quality players in that lower age bracket. They don't all need to be 27 or older. You will have players that you will buy at the bottom level of that age bracket at 22 that will become first team top quality players that are still in that age bracket but are higher quality, if that makes sense.
There's no guarantee.
No, there's not. But what I'm saying to you right now, if I was rebuilding a team, what we've done is we've packed out that bottom step of the ladder. We've got players that were in that bottom step of the ladder that are now a bit higher up, your Mickey van der Vens, who have moved into that category. And then you've got your Romeros, Madisons, Vicarios that are in that top category, right? Richarlison's, whatever, I don't even know how old Richarlison is.
Sounds like 32 as well, isn't
he? Yeah.
33, yeah.
So what we now need to do is go and sign players that are top ability level, but mid-age level in the mid-category. Let the young... Yeah, so players that could be really effective for us, like Mbembo, for example. He's not in the higher age category. He's not an elite level player, but he's top ability and top age for that category.
I think we're standing my argument. What I'm saying is, if you keep buying players of that level, you will stay at that level. Even if you pack the whole squad full of players, you keep telling me, because I remember we had a discussion about the squad in general.
Yeah.
My argument is, because like with Liverpool, when they made those 2-3 top, I mean, they've made more than that now.
Yeah,
they had to pay the big money to make that jump. If we're not willing to do that jump, then we won't do the thing. It's as simple as that.
I'm going to say something now, and you're going to laugh at me, but just bear with me for a second. So when I rebuilt Wolfsburg on football, no, just listen here for a second. When I rebuilt Wolfsburg, the first thing I did was sell all the players that didn't fit my philosophy. I went and bought mid-age range players, 23, 24, 25-year-olds, 26-year-olds, that were all of identical ability level across my starting 11 that fit my philosophy for how I play. Then I would slowly upgrade one defender, one midfielder, one attacker, one defender, one midfielder, one attacker. Yeah. The leftovers shit players would go. The player who was good enough to be a starter went to the bench, and a more established player came in. Not necessarily an older player, but a more established or higher quality player came in. My 6th season, I lost the Pokal to Stuttgart 1-0, and we missed 3 or 4 key chances.
You buy a striker then?
Let me finish. And we lost the Champions League final 2-0 to Real Madrid, and I felt like we lacked a leader in that team. Bearing in mind, in that January, I'd signed Tuchemeni and brought him, because I changed the way the system played slightly. I wanted a holding midfielder that dropped back into centre-back rather than a centre-back that moved into midfield. So I bought Tuchemeni in January. That was a £70 million player. And then at the end of the season, our performances went from this to this. Right? So you could see the impact that one world-class player has had. I looked at the squad in that summer and I went, I need 2 players. What the fuck do I need? And I spent £65 million on Ruben Diaz. I know it's a game, but I'm using the process, not the figures, but the process as an example. I spent £65 million on Ruben Diaz, who was 29, Man City captain, a year left in his contract, and I spent 20...
A year left.
Yeah. No, it wasn't 20. It was
20 million.
I spent 75 million plus a bunch of add-ons that got it just below 100 million for a 25-year-old attacker from Barcelona who I should have signed when he was 19 for like 12 million, didn't, because his passing wasn't good enough. Stupid, I know. Harry Kane's done that to me. And I signed him for that million. He scored the winning goal in the Champions League final, and we kept a clean sheet against Madrid. We beat him 2-0. We won the treble, and then obviously I left, leading to our current football.
I saw your video, obviously, you showed me before as well.
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is, once you pack out the squad of all players that fit your style of play, then you can start cherry picking. You'll see some of those players will stand up as a higher quality, and some of those players will look like, you know what, he'd be a good squad player. He's not going to be starting forever, but he'd be a good squad player. And some of them will be like, listen, this guy just can't keep up to the level. You will have one summer where you clear out those players that can't keep up to the level. You'll have one summer where those players that are good enough to start now but won't be in 2 years drop to the bench. And then once you've done that, it's a process about stepping stones, one step, then the next step, then the next step. You can't go from 0 to 60. I'm not saying that we will... yes, I know I said that I don't want us to ever sign a £100 million player. And personally, I don't. I would like to think we could just build a squad of gems and get away with it. But I still stand by my point that I bought those last. I only spent more than, because I bought someone from Liverpool, sold them back and bought them again cheaper and sold them back a year later. Oh, that was it. I bought Kudus from West Ham. He was insane for a year, sold to Liverpool for 145 million. He was shit in Liverpool, so I bought him back for 60 million and sold him to the Turkish league for 30 million a year later. Anyway, not the point. I should never have sold him in the first place. I got money hungry. Levy, I know. But anyway, so what I'm saying is the time in which I spent more than like £60 million on a player came in my last 3 windows before I won the treble. I'm not saying that Spurs are going to follow the exact model, or they should, because it was a game, right? It's easier in a simulation.
I know, because
but the principle is still the same. Spurs should be within sight of the finish line when they go and buy those established, not the established players. I'm not saying you can't sign any established players, but I'm talking about the world beaters. You should be within the sight of the finish line when you sign those world beaters to take you to the next level. That's my point I'm trying to make. And I think we need to go through that process of signing a squad of, like I said months ago, which shows that I've stayed consistent because my opinion is still the same. We need to go through a period of signing a squad of £60 million players first, or not £60 million players physically in money, but in terms of value to the team, right? We need a squad of Kulizeskis, or a squad of Romero's, or a squad of Van der Ven's, or a squad. Van der Ven's a great example because he was about 48 million, I think it was in the end.
50 million, I think.
Yeah, call it 50 million. If we went and signed a squad of Van der Ven's in terms of effectiveness and value for money for in and around the same, some 35, some 40, some 55, some 60, but no more than 60 million. If we kitted out our starting 11 with that and moved those players that aren't good enough in the starting 11 to the bench, and then I think we could sit here and say we are an Isak, or we are the Alfonso wing, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Who?
Not Alfonso. What's the fella from Bilbao?
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Spanish fella, like 400 grand a week fella. Whatever. Was
it Williams? Nico Williams?
Nico Williams, that's right. We are one or two of those players away. We are one of those players in the summer and one of those players in January, and maybe one or two squad player refreshes away from winning something or winning the league, right? But to get to that point, you have to build the foundations properly. You can't just chuck a house on wet concrete and go, fuck it, let's just throw all this fancy glass and shit on foundations that aren't stable. You have to do it's horrible, but you have to do the bottom bit right first.
Massive mistake. Last summer, the signings were a massive mistake.
Yeah, and it still comes back to the point that we said that the players weren't necessarily wrong. The time period in our project that we bought them was at the wrong time frame. We both said it. We should have gone and signed 3 or 4, 40, 50 million pound squad players to come in, start, stabilise. Then you can bring the young players in.
Like I said, I'm not against signing any young players. You're misunderstanding it.
I've never thought that for a second. Although you do seem to have an agenda against Archie Gray.
Prioritise the first team and then say at the summer, because I remember United used to do this a lot. They'd buy like 2 or 3 on the first 2 or 3.
We've done the right thing in the wrong order. That's what we've done.
Like a youngster. So what you're doing is I'm just saying theoretically in 4s, right? So each summer you've got the 3 who walk in, and then or competition, whatever you call it, whatever. So you've got there's more competition. Plus you've got the young player who can learn off of say for theoretically that summer, right? That we've got Kudu, Janssen, all that crap.
Yeah.
It's like Batshuayi, Mane, Wijnaldum, plus like a young player. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone young to learn off, one of the other positions. Yeah, like a fullback. Or something. I'm trying to think what we need. A young centre half, I guess. I don't know. And then
I'm just trying to say, for me right now, like if I look at
you buying 3 players who are going to make a difference straight away, and then that player that added on at the end of the summer or whatever it is.
So for me, if I look at our starting 11, right, because if we talk about replacing a starting 11 player with a 50 to 60 million pound player, so they drop to the back. If we're talking about how many players it would take to get our most recent starting 11 to the level that we can go and sign those £100 or £200 million players to take us, right? So Vicario, Kinski as 2 goalkeepers. I think that's okay. Vicario is one of those upgrades that he's not quite world class. He's outstanding on his day 95% of the time. Most of the time, he'll drop 7 out of 10s. He'll drop 1 stinker, 1 world class game in between. He's one of those that you'd now leave to the very, very last minute to upgrade. I
think I think we could upgrade him.
We probably could, but what I'm saying to you is, if he was going to be one of those players, he'd be one of the last, like one of those £100 million players. If we were going to go and do it, right? Left back, Udogie starting, not a problem. Rotation. I'm not talking about Angie's system specifically. I'm on about just in general at the moment.
We need another left back.
Yeah, we need a backup left back, no problem. Van der Ven starting, great. We need a left-sided rotation centre half. So again, that's not a £50 million player on the start of a Van der Ven. That's £50 million player on a player that can be almost as good as Van der Ven when he comes in. So £50 million on Tapsoba, for example. Even though he's not left-footed, he is very two-footed. Just an example.
I know, we were in with him along with Van der Ven.
Yeah. Then you've got Romero, no problem, and then you've got Danso. So we've just done with Danso what we need to do on the left-hand side of defence. So, not a problem. Porro, Spence, I think they've both got qualities in different areas. In a way, they're the perfect rotation options because they're both good at different things. They both require different types of games to be like effective, and that's what you kind of want in your rotation for fullbacks. So that's not necessarily a problem. Bentancur, could we go and spend £50 million on a player who comes in and is better than him to push him to the bench? Yes, I'd agree. So that's 2 positions so far because of 3 because of left side.
Yeah.
The other side, well, Bergvall played. Bergvall, you could drop him to the bench. Who would you bring? Is there anybody in our current squad that would start?
I think we need like 2 or 3 new midfielders. I'm so sick of
So I would bring in a midfielder in that category, not a problem. And then Archie Gray becomes your second choice. I would then have
at this point, I'm convinced Gray ain't even a midfielder.
He is, but we're not. That's a whole different podcast. We're not arguing about that now. Son, because otherwise we're going to run out of time. I can't believe we're recording for 2 hours. Son is your starting. Becomes your rotational left winger. Now you've got Odobert, who's shown great promise, and I actually thought he was quite good when he came on, but he still needs time. He's only 22. He still needs time. So again, you need to bring. He's one of those players that you start in a cup game or you start in a Europa League game at home when you've already got the home league.
On left winger.
Yeah, so left winger agree. So far, something about our left side of midfield. So far, we've got a left back, a left centre back, left defensive midfield, left wing, to the left. These teams attacking to the left. Madison, I personally would have Kulusevski starting in the 10 and Madison rotating in the 10, so I don't think that's a problem. And then you've got Bergvall who can play there as well. So again, don't think that's a problem. And also, like I said before, I'd like to see Son move into that bracket. So you've got other options if you need it. Right wing is a massive problem because Brennan Johnson, for me, is that £50 million player who gets moved to the bench. So you need a player to come in and start. Now, obviously, we can't do it right this second because he's already gone. But let's say this was 2 years ago and this current squad was 2 years ago. £50 million on Cole Palmer, for me, would be a great first step up. Because then, if Cole Palmer proves that he's good enough to start and becomes a world beater, great. Eventually, you get rid of Brennan Johnson, you replace him. If he doesn't, and he's better in the 10, then all of a sudden, if Madison or Kulusevski drop off, you can move them out, and then you buy a right winger. Or alternatively, if he proves to be a great starter for 2 years and phases out, you can sell Brennan Johnson, move Cole Palmer back, and then at that point, when you're pushing on the cusp of the top of the league, then the £100 million becomes a player who comes in who is by far and away a better starter than Cole Palmer.
Look at Saka, right, at Arsenal. I think
he's overrated, personally.
So I hate to say he's world class, for me. I don't think so. If he sold it, he probably would go.
Just quickly, hold on, because we've got one more position, because otherwise I'll forget. Striker, obviously, Tell is not that problem. Solanke's a great starting option, and he's proven enough this season to get another season being a starter when he can play fully fit. If in 12 months' time, you sit there and you look at his numbers and go, you know what, there's another 15% of these chances that really are bagsman chances and he's not put them away, then you go and sign your world-class player to drop him back to go. So realistically, we're looking at left back, left centre-back, left DM, right DM, left wing, right wing, striker. So we're looking at 7 £50 million players. And then once we get to the point where that's come in, then you're looking at potentially a world-class goalkeeper, potentially a world-class left winger, or right winger, and potentially a world-class left striker. At that point then, so that's 350, that's £500 million. When you put it like that, that's what's, and that gives you your £750 million players to upgrade what we've got. I'm talking about if you sign them effectively, right? Then 2 to 3, 80, £90 million players, or £70 million if it's a release clause or if it's a struggling club, which then takes you into that next level where all of a sudden they're coming in and they're putting a Solanke onto the bench who's good enough to start but can't get a game because there's a world beater in front of him.
So we had. This is why I say Batshuayi to compare him to Solanke, because if Kane was here, Solanke would be on the bench.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say then when it comes down to that, so 2 summers' time, you go and re-sign Kane back. Kane comes in, Solanke drops on the bench.
Someone made a video about this, but I don't believe he's going to come back right now.
No, he won't. But anyway,
it won't be the Kane that we know. I don't think, to be honest with you.
But do you see what I mean? That actually, when you go about it in my transfer strategy, it doesn't. You can do that in maximum. So if you did 4 of those 7 in the summer, 2 of those 7 in January, another one next summer and 1 world-class player, nothing in the following January, maybe a loan or maybe 1 or 2 squad players if it needs refreshing, and then 2 again in the World Class. You're looking at 3 summers, and we're talking about transforming this Tottenham team with £500 million and 3 summers. If you do it properly, you scout properly, and you recruit well, into a title-winning team.
I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say. The whole Gray thing, for me, is like a massive worry, because what you would classify as a £50 million 25-year-old, for example, I'm talking about anyway. They'll go. What they did with Gray, they dropped 40 million on an 18-year-old.
I still think in 10 years' time, if God forbid we're still doing this in 10 years' time, I think we'll sit back and I sit there. I think honestly, within the next 5 years, I think you'll be sitting there saying you were wrong about Archie Gray. I really do.
But you're not understanding my argument. I'm saying buying too many players like that, which is part of the problem with this club.
But this is what I'm saying.
The Van der Vens and Romero's leave.
But this is what I'm saying, though. I've just sat there and described to you.
5 years for Archie Gray to be good.
Well, hold on. I've just sat there. Van der Ven's only 22 now. So we're talking about by 25, if we follow my transfer strategy that I've just laid out there,
Romero, we signed Gray in the summer. Romero's off in the summer anyway. And now we have another position we need to fill. You're not getting my point, are you?
I understand your point, but what I'm saying to you is this is the problem when we do it so sparsely. If we went and signed 4 of those £50 million players one summer, 3 the next summer, it's only a 2-year turnaround. At that point, Van der Ven is only 24. The reason why I'm saying, because of I hate to say it because I do really like Archie Gray. I haven't seen enough from Odobet's comment, and Bergvall again. He's hit and miss for me. I think he's
players. They could be good in free football. I'm trying to say.
What I'm saying to you, 2 seconds. What I'm saying to you is, last summer was a miss, right? And we've delayed that process. If we'd have gone and signed, let's say Dorgu, for example, the left back that United signed, if we went and signed him for 50 million in the summer, and we went and spent £50 million on a left-sided
Gallagher or something, mate. Do you mean like Gallagher or something?
Or let's say Ake, for example, because he's can play left back and left-sided centre-backs and covers.
Theoretically, anyway.
Theoretically. If we went and signed £50 million on those 2 players in January, then we'd be sitting there and going, right, that's the depth covered for a while. Ben Davies could go in the summer.
Yeah.
As good as he'd been. And then in the summer, you go and sign another 4 of those players. I think if the players saw the progress being made,
they won't stay. Yeah,
they'd stay because they would be. If Levy laid it out to them and gone, these are the positions we're going to upgrade. This is our time frame. Once we've done these 7 or 8 £50 million players, we are going to go as whatever we need in that moment. We're going to go and spend the 80-90 million pounds on that established player to take us over the line. Yeah. I think those players stay. I think their biggest problem is we've gone into January and we've got a loan, and I do think Tell will turn out to be good in the end. Whether it's for us or not remains to be seen.
I know, because I heard that United talk as well before.
Like, who else did we sign in January? Kinski
and Danso.
Yeah. So Danso, I think, is a great example of we've gone and signed a player who the manager liked, who we were linked with him actually that first summer when we bought Van der Ven and Tapsoba when we were linked with him that first summer.
Yeah, because I know.
We've gone and spent, okay, yeah, cool, it's not £50 million, but we bought in a squad player who can come in, do a job. He's physically built, he's quick, he's strong. You can see how he fits the system. He's looked a lot calmer on the ball than what I thought he was going to. He's been a lot more vocal as well, to be fair, than what I expected. Ignoring the price range, for example, we've got to sign a player that fits into that category to rotate in that position. If we'd have done three more of those in January, we'd be sitting here in the summer going...
I'm not saying he's an awful player, by the way. I'm saying the problem is signing a dancer and saying, I'm settling on a squad player for 50 minutes. Because you're basically... or 30 foot, whatever.
Yeah.
You're basically telling whoever the other centre half is, you're starting because we know, unfortunately, I know what Ange is like. He'll bring back Van der Ven and Romero straight away. And even if Danso, I hope he does this, by the way, has like an amazing run, for example, and he starts playing better than Romero's been playing this season. Yeah. He's just going to chuck Romero back in. This is this problem as well.
But what I'm saying is, once we get to the point where you've got those...
If I was Romero and I looked at Danso, I'd be like, there's no competition there.
Right, but hold on a second. There's a difference between a squad where players are competing and a squad where someone can come in and do a good, solid job when your first team choices are out. Real Madrid don't go and sign Militao. They didn't sign Militao to be rotation with Ramos. Like, Ramos was never, ever going to be dropped. They brought him in so that when Ramos needed rested or if Ramos got injured or sent off, as was a common occurrence...
I think this is why I look at Archie Gray like a squad player, basically. I think he's going to be just a regen of Ben Davies.
I don't think so.
Because I'm like, this guy gets put everywhere. And don't get me wrong, he does a job. I'm not saying he's bad. Yeah. But I just don't see anything special with him.
But look at Spence as an example. When we signed Spence, we both said he was a club player. Both said that it wasn't going to work. We saw how it could work in Conte's system. But after Conte made the comments about him, we knew that he wasn't going to play him. Even if he had the Ballon d'Or in the bag for the following year, he was never going to play him.
Yeah.
My thing with Spence, none of us expected him to turn it around like this. Now we're sitting there and saying we don't need to sign a right back because we've got two different styles of right back that can play two different styles of games that give us multiple options.
How many Spences are there? That's what I'm trying to say. I guess how many Spences are there? There's not.
But
many.
we spent like £12 million on Spence or something stupid. Like, it was peanuts, really, in the grand scheme of things. When you consider the fact that I'm talking about a 4 times price range. There becomes a lot more of those players when you start hitting a full-time. Once you look for the same category of player, but with 3 times the budget, it's different. Like, if you're looking, right, the best example I can give, and then we need to talk about the Ipswich game, otherwise we're never going to talk about it. If you're going to a garage and you're going to go and buy a new car, and you just want a nice family car, nice seats, CarPlay, steering wheel controls, not talking about what car I may or may not want to buy. Just you want a nice casual car, whatever, and you're going to buy that car for £2,000, for example. You've had finance accepted for £2,000, £100 deposit, £2,000 up front. Or you're going to go for the same car, for the same category, for the same job, but with a £5,000 budget. There's more options and better quality in the £5,000 bracket than there is in the £2,000 bracket. What I'm saying to you is, the players we're signing, not age, not necessarily true because some of the young players inexperienced, whatever. The type of player we're signing to bolster the squad isn't necessarily the problem. The shop we're shopping in, we're going and shopping in like Primark for these players when really you can shop at Sports Direct and still buy Calvin Klein clothes. Do you get what I mean? Like if you go into Primark, you know you're literally going to be paying £10 for a t-shirt absolute maximum. If you go into Sports Direct, you might pay £20 for a t-shirt that you love and wear for 10 years, and you might pay £60 for a t-shirt you love and for 10 years, but there's more range if you go into that shop. If you're just going into Primark, this is your price range no matter what.
Oh yeah, forget it. It's like...
Do you see what I'm saying? I know it's not an exact translation. Me and my metaphors. I got a £9,500 degree up there just for making metaphors. It is actually, I'm not going to tell the camera, but it is actually framed on my wall above a photo of my little brother, by the way. I wasn't just pointing into the stars for no reason. But do you know what I mean? Like, when you go into it with the mindset of, I'm going to go shopping for what I want, that's going to improve my wardrobe. It might not be the T-shirt I wear every day, but it's going to be brilliant when I do need to wear it. If I go in just saying I'm going to spend £4 on a T-shirt, you're going to get a £4 quality T-shirt no matter what you buy. If you go in going, I've got the money to spend £60 on a T-shirt, I'm not going to spend it unless I have to. If I see a £40 million T-shirt, if I see almost 5 times the metaphor, if I see a almost did it again. If I see a £40 T-shirt that I fucking love, it suits me, fits what I need, great addition to my wardrobe, then that's great value for money. If I see a £60 T-shirt that fits into my wardrobe, that's really nice, whatever, don't go for the 60 one just for the sake of spending £60. It has to be better than the £40 one for you to spend that extra 20 quid. But also, in the same sense, you've got the option of spending 20 quid on a T-shirt, 40 quid on a T-shirt, 50 quid on a T-shirt, 60 quid on a T-shirt. If you go into Primark, your options are £4, £5, £6, £7. No matter what, if you buy a £4 T-shirt, it's never going to have, it will only ever serve a very basic purpose. It will never ever have the potential to be a £60 value T-shirt.
More money on the, like, 18.
On the, it leads to better quality overall.
See, I'm the opposite. I will spend the bigger money on, like, the more established player to get them in right now.
Like, let me use me as an example, right? So I've owned literally like a £30 coat, different ones, but I spent no more than £30 on a coat since I was 18, right? I had a coat when I came to uni, and then the 3 or 4 coats I've had while I've lived in Luton, all of them have been £30 coats, right? My last one ripped, and I decided, you know what? £30 coats is only getting me so far. It doesn't press enough. So I've got to spend 150 quid on a Spurs night coat. Now that coat, as long as I don't put on any more weight, that coat will probably last me 10 years unless I accidentally rip it, right? So sometimes you need to go through loads of £30 coats to get to the point where you go, right, now I'm financially able to go and justify £150 on a coat, and it's going to be nice, it's going to fit me, it's going to suit me, whatever.
Okay, I was going to say, wouldn't it be better off if you just bought the first coat, the last coat?
But not what you got to remember is, if other things in my wardrobe are a priority needing changing first, they have to be changed first. Like, if you've got shoes with holes in that are leaking everywhere, for lack of a better word, if you've got shoes that are leaking straight through the middle, then you need to go replace the shoes first before you replace the coat.
I don't know. I see what you're saying now.
You'll replace your coat once for every 5 pairs of shoes you might go through. So you need to do the shoes first. You might even have to do the shoes 2 or 3 times. Then when you've got a pair you're happy that are lasting, or you get to the point where you can afford to buy 2 shoes and not just a right-sided pair of shoes, but a left-sided pair of shoes as well, so you can switch between the 2, depending on which ones are tired. Exactly, rotation. Not to be confused with location. Copyright not intended. Then once you've done that and you've got 2 pairs of shoes you're happy with that you can swap between, those shoes are going to last you twice as long. Then you can go and spend the big amount on your final thing you need, which is the new coat at 150 quid. And that might well be the best metaphor I have ever given. Mic drop.
I think we should have put anyway.
No, leave it at that, because I know there's a part of you that, now you've laid it out like that, understands why. What my biggest problem is, we go into Primark with £60 and we go, yeah, but this market means I get to keep £56 for myself, rather than going, I've got £60, I can spend £60. I don't have to. If I get a coat for 45 quid, I fucking love it. Who gives a shit? But I've got £60 to spend. If I have to, I will. That's the difference. That's the change I'm talking about. That's what I want Levy to change, or future owners to change.
Whoever it is.
Not necessarily going and buying every single item in your wardrobe. Like, people that start out at 18 that come to uni, like, their whole wardrobe's not full of designer clothes or whatever. They might buy 1 T-shirt here, one Calvin Klein item there. Like me, right? I can't believe I'm going to say this on the podcast, but here we are. No one listens this long anyway. So for me, for the last 10 years of my life, I've always bought my underwear at Primark, right? Always. Never had a problem, whatever. I go through them quite quickly because they end up ripping and whatever over time because the quality is shit. But that's all I could afford at the time.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, 2 years ago, my mate bought me a pair of Calvin Klein underwear for my birthday.
Oh, nice.
And I thought, this is not going to make a difference. Tried it, loved it, quality, realised it was amazing. So over the following 6 months, and this is actually true, by the way, this isn't made up. Over the following 6 months, when I had the money, I would bin 3 pairs of Primark underwear and buy a pack of 3 Calvin Klein. Now, my entire collection is Calvin Klein. I haven't had to buy new underwear for the last 3 years.
Okay, I see what you're saying. But
it has to be done as a gradual process.
You don't have the revenues that Tottenham have.
To be fair, that is a good count. No, but I'm talking about it in proportion.
I don't know, even in proportion. Like they have, like Levy and the club.
Yeah, they have a higher percentage gap between the cheap underwear to the expensive.
You know, our turnover to wages ratio.
I genuinely can't believe I just said that on the podcast. By the way,
do you realise it's the lowest in the league?
Yeah.
So this is part of the problem, the wage structure. Because if you were paying...
But this is my point, though. Levy's going in to Primark. Levy's going Sports Direct. It could range from £22,000 to £65,000 a week for that T-shirt. Yeah. Or I can go in here and I guarantee to pay no more than £7,000 a week for that T-shirt. Fuck it, I'm having that one no matter what. Whether it's going to have holes in it and I'm not going to be able to get rid of it and I can't sell it on eBay or Vinted or Facebook Marketplace or whatever, I'm going for that one no matter what because it means I don't have to spend more. That's his mindset. I don't want that. I want us to go into the market of £40 to £60 T-shirts and pick whichever one fits us best and is going to be the most effective and going to complement the wardrobe the most in that moment. Yeah. What people confuse it with, some people want us to spend £60 million on a player, no matter whether it's going to be effective for us or not. I want us to go into that higher bracket for that 19 to 25-year-old player and buy whatever player is the most effective for what we need, not just spending the money for the sake of it, but also not just guaranteed to pick the cheap option every time. There's a big difference between going into a market and refusing to spend more than your minimum budget versus going in with an open mind and going, what's going to benefit me the absolute most? I'll go for that one, which might not be the most expensive, but it's going to be the most effective. That's my point. And I think on that note, let's fucking talk about this because, by the way, guys, so ignore my phone battery, but it's 13 minutes past 12. We're now officially in Tuesday. We've been recording this for 2 hours. I can't believe it's taken all that for me to use clothes and my underwear as a metaphor. By the way, if you heard that, you didn't hear that. Now everyone knows what's in my underwear. Socks, on the other hand. No, I do need to start doing the same process with socks, but I'm not spending that much on socks.
No, anyway, yeah. We just look at things a different way. I think because you know what?
Do you know what? I think we'll just leave the Ipswich prediction, to be honest, and we'll talk about it next week because I think this podcast has been...
I think we'll draw that game 2-2, I think.
I'm going to say 2-1 win, just. I reckon we'll get a penalty, you know. It's been a while since we've had one.
I hope so. I hope we win the game. It's on Sunday, right? No, Saturday, sorry. 3 o'clock.
Saturday, yeah. Working. I'm off on Sunday. I'm trying to plan to go out on Saturday night, but Emil's been a bit of a... I was going to say a bellend, but he's got plans, but he moans that we only ever go out when I want us to go out. But, yeah, anyway, it's a long time. I'm not getting into my life on the podcast. I'll talk to you about it afterwards. But yeah, so I think this has been a really well-rounded episode. And I think sometimes, and we've said this before, sometimes it's not necessarily what you can disagree about what's being said, but sometimes putting it across in a different way allows people to understand it a little bit more.
But then, I'm not going to say anything because it's going to carry on if I say that.
No, go on, say it. So let's go for another 2 hours. Bite me, go on.
No, I was saying, like, if something's a priority, wouldn't the club want to spend the most on it then?
But sometimes you have to get it in just to get it in. If you've got a recipe last minute and you need eggs, no one's sitting there caring about what eggs you buy. You just buy the first eggs that you see.
Anyway,
the first eggs you see is pretty much Daniel Levy's transfer.
Yeah.
No, but I know what you're. No, but my point is, right? If you upgrade your coat first to the £150 coat, by the time you've upgraded the rest of your wardrobe, your coat might have worn thin.
Okay.
Whereas if you upgrade everything to a minimum standard first, then when you buy the coat doesn't look out of place. If you buy an Armani coat, I don't even know that's a thing. I don't buy designer stuff. The Spurs stuff's the most expensive shit I own, apart from a coat I want to give to Spurs. The most expensive thing I bought myself recently was an Armani watch, but that's a long story anyway. But that makes you sound like a right snob. It's not. It wasn't as much as you think it is. If you go spend, like, if all your clothes are £2, £3, £4 Primark t-shirts, £10 Primark jeans, £10 Primark shoes, and then you go and buy a designer jacket at £400, that jacket's going to look so out of place. If you upgrade all your t-shirts to £50 Calvin Klein, £60 Armani, whatever, all the way up, then when you go buy that designer coat, the gap's not as big. It doesn't look as out of place.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's why you have to do it in that order, which is why my issue isn't with signing the young players. My issue is the lack of first-team ready players, even at a basic level. Like Wissa, for me, would be a first-team player, who we could sign and spend like 30, 40 million pounds on, and in 2 years he'd need upgraded again. But in that 2 years bracket, what are we going to get? What are we going to benefit from him in that 2 years? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess he's a functional.
Like you look at Mohamed Kudus, right? Look at Mohamed Kudus. West Ham bought him. He's been poor the last few seasons. Like West Ham needs to upgrade him now. But 2 years ago, he was brilliant.
Property, wasn't he?
Exactly. So this is what I'm saying. Like they've kind of done it in a way where they brought in competition for Bowen, and actually the cheap coats outlasted the more expensive one in their situation. Yeah. Which shows how fucked up West Ham are.
In the league, by the way.
Anyway, let's not talk about that.
I think sorry, I can't.
But yeah, I think it kind of. I think there's definitely different ways to look at it, and like there's so many different metaphors I can come up with doing just personal things about upgrading stuff. Like my gaming setup. You remember when I first came to Luton, I had that crappy like £200 notebook laptop and a £40 snowball mic. Now my entire gaming setup is worth like $5,000.
Oh wow!
I didn't go and just splash 5K in one go.
Yeah.
I went and spent. I had a £40 mic. Then I went. Sorry, my laptop went from the laptop it was to a computer tower, which was worth like £400 at the time. So from 200 to 400. Then it went from that to a second-hand Mac, which was like 1,100. Then it went to a Mac desktop, which is 1,500, and then it went to a gaming PC, which is a gaming laptop, which is like 2,000. My monitor went from no monitor and one laptop screen to a £50 monitor to a £350 monitor to a £40 cheap small monitor to a £100 secondary monitor to a £400 primary monitor, and then the secondary monitor became the original primary monitor became the secondary monitor, which was the £150 one, and the £350 one replaced that as the starting one.
I think you look at it as the way you built a house, I guess, because I guess certain things you have to buy straight away with that already.
Yeah, sometimes you have to buy Wilco's £10 for 10 plates, and then you can upgrade to Amazon or Asda plates.
Whatever, yeah.
Like if you look at the plates and the cutlery I had when I first moved to Luton like 8 years ago, compared to now, like I've changed my plates and my cutlery loads of times. Now I have a matching set of plates, matching set of bowls, matching set of little plates, and I'm quite proud of myself. But that didn't happen overnight. That was a gradual process, but you have to be willing to go. You can't just settle for the Wilco's plates and go, does the job, doesn't it? Like, eventually you've got to want more for yourself. And I think that's the problem fans have with Levy is Levy doesn't want more for the club. He's happy with just sticking with Wilco's plates.
Another thing, just because obviously we're getting into the podcast now. But my issue is with, the process was brilliant, but if theoretically in 1 year we get Iriola, for example, and he takes us back into the Champions League, will people still have the same energy? I hope so, because I don't think Levy will back him if we make the Champions League.
I think the thing with Champions League as well is like, for example, like let's say like me at the minute, right? I'm paying off some debt, got a promotion at work. At the minute, it's only temporary. Fingers crossed it's going to become permanent, but we'll see what happens. But right now, I'm earning a lot more money than I was earning a few weeks back. Like almost a third more a month than what I was earning before. And right now, like, I still say to my mates, I'm broke. And they go, bro, you just sit there flexing, not flexing, but you're sitting there talking about pay rise while you're broke. Because as far as I'm concerned, that money is used to pay my debt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just using it to. Yeah,
I'm using it to get myself in a better position so if my finances do drop, then I'm more stable. The problem with Tottenham is we've got this higher increased revenue stream.
we're not using
If the club was saying, right, guys, we're going to use this higher increased revenue stream to pay our 10-year stadium debt off in 5 years, and then in 5 years we'll go from there, then I'd hold my hands up and say, you know what, that's not a bad business practice. Because
they don't tell us anything. So how?
but this is my problem. They're not sitting there and going, we've got a higher increased revenue stream. We're going to use it to clear our debt. We're going to use it to help the local community, help local businesses, whatever. Then once our debt's clear, then we'll go out and buy all these flashy new things. Then I'd understand it. I'd be happy to sit there and go, you know what, as long as we don't get relegated for the next 5 years, I'll bite my tongue and leave it because we're getting stable quicker. But the club aren't even doing that. They've got a loan out for God knows. I'll use 10 grand as an argument just for ratio, right? It's like they've taken out a 10 grand loan, they're paying it back at £200 a month. They've just got a higher revenue stream, and they've gone, do you know what? We're going to leave this money sat in the bank. They're not improving their quality of life. They're not paying off their debt quicker. So what the fuck are you doing then? It's just sitting in there collecting debts.
I personally think they're using the extra revenue to build that hotel and shit now.
Yeah, they're using, which in the general business model is great because you could use that money to clear the debt off quicker.
Going to the football team,
but it's not, and that's what it comes back to. And like I say, if they were sitting there and going, like, I paid off a credit card and a bit in the last 2 weeks. And if I'd have sat there and gone, well, I'm not going to pay off my debt, I'm going to moan about being in debt, say, no, I can't go out for dinner every night because I'm in debt, but I'm going to.
He's basically like eating in every day, basically. That's how I see it.
No, so what we're effectively doing, imagine, it's like me saying, I can't go out for dinner because I've got debt, right? Yeah. Me getting an increased revenue stream and then going, I'm not going to pay off the debt, but I'm not going to spend it on nice things either. I'm just going to leave it to sit in the bank. Do something with it, please.
Yeah. Either pay off the debt or
pay off the debt or buy nice shiny things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's a good way of seeing it. I think that's,
do you know what I mean? Like, and the best way, the reason I can relate to that is because that's the decisions I'm having to make. Like, I was having a
new training ground at White. You know Enfield.
Yeah, they want to build one for the women's team.
White Webs. It's basically. I've actually been into this park before, like once or twice, because it's kind of like I know where it is. Basically, it's not a good park. I kind of see why they want to redo it. Basically, because like I don't think the council will object.
We'll never do anything with it. No,
literally, what it is describe this park. You walk down this long or drive down this short thing. There's a pub or like a cafe, and then the rest of it's just like all open air sort of thing.
Yeah,
because there's a part near called 40 Hall. That's very different. They've got all these extra stuff there.
Yeah.
But that's like further down. So that's probably why they want to do White Webs, because I don't think they'll have many opposition.
Yeah.
And it's quite near me. Like it's near the other training ground actually. So the White Web, the other training ground which I've been to, they're next to each other basically, pretty much at that point. Like so they just want to take the park pretty much. That's how I did it. But that's what I'm saying. The extra revenue I think is going to that sort of thing. I can only guess, but. They want to do a hotel. They want to do a cinema. Remember, they want to knock down.
See, all this stuff like investing into growing capital again.
It's a business.
Is all great if when it's done, you're using those profits to pay off the debt or to buy new nice shiny things. But we're not doing that. All they're doing is increasing their assets while keeping everything else the same.
Property development FC, right?
It's like the other day I was looking at like buying a new car and spending like $3 or $4 grand on a new car. Cost me like £100 a month, and then in 4 or 5 years' time, when all my debt's clear, well, it won't be that long, but when I'm not talking about all my debt on the podcast, but when that's all clear, at the end of that period, going and spending like loads of money on a new car, and I looked at my car and thought my MOTs, touch wood, have gone through relatively clean. My car's got less than 50,000 miles on it. All right, yeah, cool, it's a 2007, but it's got less than 50,000 miles on it. I drive it not even once a week now because I did my shopping online last week. because of going to the gym Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday rather than trying to go on a Monday, which is a good job I didn't go to the gym. I made that decision this week. Otherwise, everyone would be pissed off with me right about now.
Well, they'll be like, where is he?
So I decided I'm just going to leave Mondays to podcast recording because it's easier. My car got a flat tyre and I didn't even know because I haven't driven it for 2 weeks. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I sit there and look at it and go, is it worth it? Like, what I've got right now is good enough? Or is it better spending that money optimising other aspects of my life so that when it does come to buy the car, I can go and buy something nice, new, flashy, top range, whatever, and not have to worry about buying to then buy again when what I've got right now, it'd be like Spurs sitting there and going, let's sell Pedro Porro.
For like wherever.
Because he's good, he gets the job done, and let's go and upgrade him to Diego Dallo. It's not really an upgrade, but on paper, he's got a different passport, so it's a bit of an upgrade. But even though it's not technically an upgrade, I'm going to say it's an upgrade, and I'm going to spend the money on it anyway, even though we don't need to. Or do I stick with Pedro Porro for a few years, wait until I need to upgrade him to an elite level, then upgrade him to elite level and invest elsewhere instead? That's effectively what the decision I made today, that I'm not going to shoot myself to a new car. I'm just going to get my driver's side wind mirror thing fixed because the motor's fucked. It goes when you push up, it goes down. So you have to like jolt it to get the window back up. And in the summer, I want to be able to have my windows down when I'm driving. And then the other thing, right now I have a CarPlay screen, like not glued, but it's like on a frame on my air vent in the middle. You can actually buy for like £100. You can buy a proper one that's built for my car. You have to pop it out, unplug the cables, connect it back in, put it in, and it actually fits into the space properly. But again, that's cheaper than the screen that I actually bought as a temporary stopgap. So if I'd have just gone and done
that first straight away,
the sensible option that made sense and fit with what I needed, I'd have saved myself money rather than buying something that didn't really fit.
You buy
because it was more expensive.
You buy twice, basically.
Yeah, and that comes back to my whole point of like my desk, for example. I bought a wooden desk for like 150 quid from Argos like 3 years ago. I always wanted a lift-up desk. I knew I'd never use it, and I still don't use it, but I always wanted a lift-up desk. And in the end, I got lucky because someone bought my desk on me for what I paid for it. I don't know why he bought that off me for what I paid for it, but he did. And then I bought the lift-up desk, which has been fucking amazing. But if I wanted the lift-up desk all along, if I'd have just waited that little bit longer, I could have got the lift. Look, I never did listen to my ex, to be fair, then I could have just got the lift-up desk. But anyway, so there are ways to do certain things. Certain things you need to go and buy the better quality. Like goalkeepers for Liverpool, it wouldn't have made sense for them to go and sign a £50 million keeper and then go and sign Alisson 2 years later. But did it make sense for them to go and sign...
their last keeper before that, wasn't he Mignolet, or am I wrong?
No, that was Karius in between.
Karius in between. I forgot it was Karius because he kept.
I'm trying to think of another example of a player like Konate, for example. I don't think Konate's all that. They've signed Konate for like 50 million, and then when it gets to the point where he's clearly not good enough, then they'll go and sign the top level replacement rather than going and sign the top level centre back and then not worry. I know it was done at different times, but who cares about technicalities? And then going and signing the goalkeeper, like a £50 million goalie and a £90 million centre back, or a £50 million centre back and a £90 million goalie.
I saw like what Liverpool tried to do initially is like we're trying to do what you're trying to do, and it didn't work. And they're like, no, we have to actually go and spend 80, 90 million on two players.
No, but the difference is the rest of their squad wasn't well-rounded, even, and there wasn't the depth either.
Summer after that, didn't they sign like 5-6 players or something?
Yeah, because they didn't have the depth. Whereas they should have got the depth first, then the well-beings. But anyway.
That's what... Anyway.
I just said they should have got the depth first, then the well-beings, which is the argument I've made the whole time. Anyway.
Let's end the podcast because we're going to die off.
Yeah, because otherwise we're going to be going on forever, so it's like past midnight. If you guys have listened this far, then what the fuck?
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Please subscribe to the channel and like.
Yes, yeah, on that topic. So recently, the growth on the channel has been fucking ridiculous. Like, I can't even begin to describe. Like, the FIFA video did on like 204 views, 8 likes. I've had comments on it as well. The Spurs crash out the Cups one. I don't know whether it was a thumbnail change. I'm going to stick with it for one more week, but I think the views were okay, but they're not the level that they were before. And then the Football Manager video that I uploaded on Sundays on 21 views, 5 likes. I've had loads of positive messages about that. So episode 2 is recorded and already scheduled.
So good.
Waiting to go. You can see it.
It's the intro, man. It's so good.
There.
My video.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's sick. I signed a Bournemouth. Well, you guys will see that video before this, so spoiler alert. I signed a Bournemouth player on loan. He's crap, but I needed someone for depth at the time, and I can upgrade him to a higher step in the future.
Is he Dan
Hashtag the Billsby way. It's not. I don't know. Wait, I'm in 2034. I don't know who the fuck he is. But Project Pompey well and truly kicks off, and I've got like a Portsmouth-inspired thumbnail as well. So it well and truly kicks off.
Coach now as well.
Let me actually see if I can.
Harry's director of football.
Not a chance. Mate, you'd make us spend £100 million on players in the Championship. That's my thumbnail for this episode, Project Pompey. You can see, like, approved, and then we played Wigan in the Cup and QPR in the league. So, and then Project Pompey in the corner. I think that's quite a nice thumbnail layout, to be fair. Took me forever to find. That's a random Bournemouth player whose face I carved out. That's not actually the player I signed. The player I signed doesn't exist in real life. He's a regen. So, yeah. He's Scottish, he's 21, and he looks like a pixelated Football Manager character. Anyway, thank you guys so much for sticking with us. There's no way people have listened this long, to be fair. I wouldn't even listen to this long. Well, I would if it was on Spotify. Check the podcast out on Spotify on that topic. We don't get half as many views, listens on Spotify as we do in normal. So please drop us a listen.
You're probably better off listening to this on Spotify, but anyway.
Yeah, gonna need to have to part with my ugly mush. Or Harry's disappointment glances and face palms every time I say something stupid. Or just something he doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell. Podcast every Friday at 9:30. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.